You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people, kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair, will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader, and will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi. All right, guys, and we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we got some special announcements, because there's a 2 week ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Hopefully that stays up. It doesn't look like it is, because sirens have been heard over Israel, and it looks like Iran might be hitting these guys with another cluster bomb. We'll get into that soon. But first, let's get into the media analysis of it, and let's listen to both sides, and let's see what's going on, guys. And let's not forget, too, double tap that screen and like the video, depending on where you're watching, or just smash that like button. All right, guys, let's get right into it.
General Jack Haynes, our senior strategic analyst and retired four-star general. So what do you think went down during this deadline?
Well, listen, first of all, I appreciate President Trump and wanting to open the Straits of Hormuz, certainly, and also put together a deal with the Iranians that would give us everything. They would have to surrender everything that we would take away from them using military force. That's the essence of the deal. And the top of that list certainly is they have to give up and let us take away the nuclear enrichment that they absolutely have. And that's got to be in that deal, and it's got to be number one in the deal, because at the beginning of everything here, it was about their nuclear capability. But think about, what did the Iranians want here also? Why did they close the Straits of Hormuz?
Wait, hold on.
They closed the Straits of Hormuz simply to put pressure on the administration to stop the war. And we have stopped the war. So let's understand what's at play here from the Iranian perspective.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. Iran's going to open the Strait of Hormuz, but the Strait of Hormuz is now going to be regulated. So that's the problem, that the Strait of Hormuz wasn't regulated when we walked into this. But now all of a sudden we're going to be dealing with a regulated Strait of Hormuz, and it's mainly going to be used to give reparations to the Iranians for their destroyed infrastructure. So, I mean, that seems like a win for them, sadly.
And also from our perspective, I don't trust the Iranians at all. The president doesn't trust them either. He's negotiated with them time and time again. He knows they're liars and cheats. So this comes down to the deal itself and what's in it and the verification for it. The Iranians are experts at obfuscating and delaying deals, and they lie and promise and don't deliver. So there's a lot wrapped up in the deal. My preference would have been to keep the war going as leverage to make that deal. But we are where we are now, and we're in a ceasefire. And it comes down to all the points in making that deal, for sure. And we'll see how that turns out. It looks like the president is getting indications from the Iranians that they're willing to concede on all of those points. I don't dispute the fact that people are saying that. Whether they actually do it is another matter, and that's my concern about this. And the president and his team knows who they're dealing with. So we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire. And
I don't know, man. According to the president, we're dealing with a whole new group of people. We done effectually got regime change. So like, what you talking about? And this is why I said it's like it's an inconsistent message. And I mean, I thought we got regime change. I thought it's all good. Now we're going like, well, you know who we're dealing with. We're dealing with the crazy mullahs. We're dealing with these crazy IRGC guys. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So why were you guys trying to tell people that there was regime change?
if this blows up in our face, we have to have the stomach to finish this militarily. And the Iranians are counting on the fact, I think where they're coming from, delay, obfuscate, and that the fact that the Americans have stopped and the straits are open and ships are starting to flow again, that we would not have the stomach to go back and return to military operations. That, I think, is their strategy. And we'll see if that unfolds. We'll know pretty quickly when it gets down to the actual fine points of the deal and how we verify it and the concessions they're willing to make. And we'll see what that is. But I am skeptical about where we're heading with the Iranians because I flat don't trust them. And I don't like taking the pressure off them by going to a ceasefire, which is what they wanted in any event, to force the United States to stop the war. And we have done that, admittedly only temporarily, but we got to see what's in that deal.
General, it sounds like you think this ceasefire is not going to last. And if it doesn't last and it blows up, what do you think the U.S. military posture should be?
Well, we have to finish what we started. The Israelis need about 10 days to 2 weeks. We're about the same. There's still lots of targets out there for the hit in the minds of military commanders. And I really do think if the deal blows up, it comes down to Carg Island and forcing either take control of Carg Island and take control of the distribution of oil or destroy it and force an economic collapse. Either you take control of Carg Island and then you have the leverage to bend them to our will and actually force them into a position that we truly want. And that sets the regime, I think, on a path to regime collapse. There's no way we can know that for sure, and we've said that from the outset.
You don't think
if we can get a deal,
you don't think
if we can get a deal that takes everything away that we would do militarily, that's another matter. But I'm suggesting that remains to be seen. And the president's made a decision here. We got to play it out to see what happens.
You don't think this could be a misdirection on behalf of the administration to take Carg or deploy a more aggressive option? Because they might expect the Iranians to cheat.
I mean, well, we've already attacked military sites in Carg Island. Now we haven't attacked, well, the energy infrastructure that's on Carg Island and their exports. So here's the problem. I mean, we've attacked all the military targets. It looks like we're getting ready to seize Carg Island, but then all of a sudden we're in this 2-week ceasefire, which is great. It's day one, but it doesn't really look like it's going to hold. And that's like what everybody's concerned about, and rightfully so.
Well, listen, this much I know. The president is very clear-eyed here. He knows who he's dealing with, and he knows the value of Carg Island. And in my mind, he knows full well he can take control of it or he can destroy it. And he knows it is a seminal point in Iran's future. And yes, he realizes exactly what a strategic asset that is, and he can take ownership or destroy it at will. So yes, he always has that card to play, and he knows it.
Okay. The talk around town was war crimes. I didn't know blowing up a bridge was a war crime. There's been a ton of past presidents in a lot of wars.
Yes, it's a war crime if it's mainly used for civilian use. If it's gonna proportionally, well, yeah, if it's gonna mainly affect the civilians, then yes, it is a war crime. So yeah, if you blow up an energy plant and it mainly affects the civilians. And we got rolling blackouts where citizens can't get power. That's a war crime. It's like, it's crazy how they don't know that.
That have hit bridges, that have hit power plants. How did you process hearing all that?
Well, look, we know our president, right? He uses rich and colorful language, and he uses it as leverage in negotiations. And I think a lot of that was at play here. And it doesn't mean for a minute that he's not going to use maximum military force to crush this regime. He certainly intended to do that. And he had plenty of options to do. But the rich and colorful language, I think it was part of all of the leverage he was trying to achieve. And people take a literal interpretation of some of that for political reasons. I think I saw it for what it is. I saw it as the president's language as leverage in dealing with the Iranians. And that's all it was. And I don't think we're on a path to commit war crimes. Not at all.
Yeah. Trash talk, as we call it. General Keane, thank you so much. Be sure.
I mean, I'm happy that it was trash talk, but it sure was concerning to hear the president just say that out loud, talking about the end of a civilization. I mean, that put everybody on their feet or on their heels, to say. All right, guys, let's go to the next one here.
President Trump seconds ago taking to Truth Social to say that he is talking to Pakistani officials, and based on that conversation, he will agree to stop bombing for 2 weeks. He also says that Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz for that time period. So I'm going to read part of this to you. It says, he says subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. So they still have to agree. I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with the definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. That's also news, Jake. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem to a resolution. So a couple of things that we're going to still be asking questions about. What is in that 10 proposal? What has actually been agreed to? And I will go back through that language because I said that Iran had agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz. It does sound as though he's still leaving it there as that he's only agreeing, if that is in fact the case, that they will fully open the Strait of Hormuz. This, of course, again, coming as President Trump has been threatening to wipe out an entire civilization, saying that he was going to bomb bridges, to bomb civilian infrastructure, saying at one point that the Iranian people wanted.
And I have the 10-point proposal right here. I'm going to just read it out for you guys. But let's see here. Iran's 10-point proposal peace plan. I'll just show you guys. Let's see. Guaranteed that Iran will not be attacked again. Permanent end to the war, not just a ceasefire. End to Israeli strikes in Lebanon. This is why the Israelis are freaking out. Lifting of all U.S. sanctions on Iran. End to all regional fighting against Iranian allies. I don't know about that. Basically saying stop fighting our proxies like the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. That includes them as well. Iran would reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran would impose a 2 million fee per ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Like, Jesus, but all right. And Iran would split these fees with Oman, all right, to repair some of their stuff. Iran would also establish rules for safe passage through Hormuz. Iran would use Hormuz fees for reconstruction instead of reparation. All right, that's fair. That's fair. But all right, let's get back over here to CNN. Let's see what they're talking about. Oh, guys, appreciate the support. Make sure to go ahead and like the video.
Him to continue bombing. And we knew behind the scenes that there were ongoing conversations, negotiations between the two parties, between Pakistan was serving as an intermediary between the two countries at various times. Senior White House official telling our Elena Treen that Israel is part of this ceasefire, that they have agreed to suspend its bombing campaign while these negotiations continue. Now, of course, we don't know where that ends. We don't know if that's for 2 weeks. It's not specific, but Israel is part of this starting point, which is this ceasefire. So all three sides are participating. At least that is according to a senior White House official. Now, back to what your point is about the 10-point plan. I mean, we've been hearing about a 10-point plan from Iran for weeks now. The idea was that the United States presented a 15-point plan, that several of the points on that plan, Iranian officials were saying were unrealistic. They were impossible to meet. And they came back with their own plan. We are still at a loss as to what exactly was in that plan. What are the actual points? What exactly is the U.S. now saying that they are willing to work with? President Trump had gone back and forth on the idea of reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Clearly, he has focused on that as a top priority after last week saying he didn't need to reopen the strait as part of a deal to end the war in Iran. So whatever it is, Iran is likely to have said long term, the free and fair passage through the Strait of Hormuz, because that is something President Trump just 2 days
Free and fair. Yeah. According to that 10-point plan, they want $2 million per transit. I mean, per ship goes through, they're getting $2 million for that. And then they're also going to use that for reconstruction of their infrastructure and I guess Oman's as well. I guess they worked some deal out with them.
ago or just yesterday said was a top priority.
Breaking news, Iran's foreign minister just responding to Trump's ceasefire announcement. I want to read part of it to you. He says, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. Obviously, those words are crucial there. And the Supreme National Security Council of Iran has also issued a statement that I have here. And I'll just share you a couple of the important lines here. One of them is that the regulated passage through the Strait of Hormuz under the coordination of the armed forces of Iran, thereby conferring upon Iran a unique economic and geopolitical standing, which sounds like in a translation, Iran saying that they see this as acknowledgement that they control the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go to Zachary Cohen, our national security reporter here.
They're talking about putting a $2 million fee on it. I mean, you're pretty much saying that, yeah, we run this territory or these waters, and now you guys got to pay. I mean, if we accept that, then I'm going to be real with you, it's going to be looking like an L for us.
Zachary, what are you learning about this? We're just getting these dual statements, one from Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and also from the Supreme National Security Council that I just shared part of. What else stands out to you here?
Yeah, Aaron, the piece of this about the Strait of Hormuz really is the most remarkable thing, I think, that jumps out immediately and says Pakistan has submitted the same to the American side. Said plan emphasizes fundamental matters, inter alia, the regulated passage to the Strait of Hormuz under the coordination of the armed forces of Iran, thereby conferring upon Iran a unique economic and geopolitical standing. So effectively, that's reiterated in the tweet as well, saying that at least for the period of 2 weeks, the Strait of Hormuz will be open effectively, though with coordination via the Iranian military. And it's important for people to remember that the Strait of Hormuz was not controlled in a literal sense by Iran prior to those U.S. Israeli joint military strikes that kicked off this entire conflict several weeks ago. Iran responded to those strikes by closing the Strait of Hormuz, and it appears that this ceasefire is predicated, at least in part, on the legitimization of Iran's control of that key waterway, and that goes with an implication of if the waterway can be opened temporarily, Iran likely could reclose the strait should negotiations not progress in a way that they see fit effectively. So it also says that talks between the U.S. and Iran should occur as soon as this week. In Islamabad, Pakistan has been acting as the key primary intermediary country between the U.S. and Iranian regimes. A lot to hammer out here, but the Iranian statement does seem to suggest that, in principle at least, the Trump administration has agreed to the broad contours of their 10-point proposal, at least as a starting point for these negotiations. And again, it's hard to overemphasize how important the Iranian control and demand that that control be legitimized of the Strait of Hormuz is as far as a starting point for these talks.
Yes, and that, of course, may be the absolute deal breaker. And I'm just reading the final sentence here of the statement from the Supreme National Security Council in Iran. They say, our hands remain upon the trigger, and should the slightest error be committed by the enemy, it shall be met with full force. They also emphasize that this deal, such that it is, does not signify any termination of the war. Obviously, we're talking about a temporary ceasefire of sorts. Just sharing this information, right? So we've got the response here from Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister, and also from the National Security Council in Iran. But two things really stand out here. One, the safe passage that Trump is saying is going to be provided for 2 weeks as part of this, kind of the central part of it, through Hormuz. They're saying is possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces, which obviously implies that Iran controls the strait. And then from the National Security Council, they say this confers upon Iran a unique economic and geopolitical standing in terms of them regulating passage through the Strait of Hormuz. So what do you hear in all this?
I mean, listen, who knows what's going on? Donald Trump lies every single day. Clearly, he's not telling the truth. But if you accept even part of the Iranian statement, Donald Trump has agreed to give Iran control of the Strait of Hormuz. That is extraordinary. If you go deeper into the statement from the Iranian National
Security, because basically it's like, all right, so before this war started, I mean, it was free to go through. Like, nobody controlled the Strait of Hormuz. Now, you're telling me after this war, part of the deal just might be, oh, yeah, Iran controls it, and they get to make people pay fees to fix their infrastructure, which, I mean, okay, cool. But the problem with that is like, yo, we were in a better position before this war. How the hell we put ourselves in a worse position? And we got to leave alone all of their proxies?
Security Council, they claim that Trump has also agreed to Iran's right to enrichment, to suspend all sanctions against Iran, and to allow Iran to keep their missile program, their drone program, and their nuclear program. Now, who knows if any of that is true, but if at the very least this agreement gives Iran the right to control the strait, that is cataclysmic for the world. And it is just stunning that that's where we have gotten to, that Donald Trump took a military action that has apparently, at least for the time being, given Iran control over a critical waterway that they did not have control over before the war began. So it just doesn't sound like there's actually an agreement, because what Trump is saying is totally different than what the Iranians are saying. But if Iran has the strait permanently now, what an error, what a miscalculation this entire endeavor was.
I mean, the day began, Senator, with a post on Trump's social media website that I don't know what you thought when you saw it. I have said that I did not think it was real, and I had to go check it because it was so stunning. But it began with, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. That is how the day began. Of course, this outcome that is not going to happen tonight is one that everybody would want, and yet the path to get here and where we are right now. All right. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, listen, the president has promised to commit war crimes. He's promised to eradicate an entire civilization. We have never, ever seen that in the history of this country. That's why I and many other people have been talking for the last 24 hours about the 25th Amendment. It does seem that Trump has lost touch with reality. I mean, we just can't accept a president who is literally promising to destroy an entire civilization, to murder hundreds of thousands of innocent human beings. That alone should be grounds for the removal of this president. But he thinks, I guess, that the threat of mass-scale war crimes has achieved some success. But as we're learning in the last few minutes, the success seems to be that Iran has more power over global commerce than ever before in our lifetime. And so the combination of the threat of war crimes along with the outcome of this so-called ceasefire, it's just really hard to get your head wrapped around.
No, it is. And I was saying last summer along the Strait of Hormuz, when the whole possibility was that Iran could escalate by doing something, it still seemed to many, although possible, unthinkable, right? And how the world has changed since then, just in such a the reality has changed. I want to ask you about one other important thing, though, Senator, and that is obviously the military operation which was astounding, to rescue the downed U.S. airmen inside Iran over the weekend. Their performance and what they did is truly incredible. And I'm sure every American is rightfully proud of that. Secretary Hegseth speaks about this war in explicitly Christian terms, as you well know, and he does so frequently. He compared that airman on Easter weekend to Jesus Christ. I wanted to play for you what he said.
Shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn.
Senator, what do you say to that analogy?
Yeah, it's clear that for many in Trump's orbit, this is a holy war. And I think you have to pair what
yeah, that's what the military guys were complaining about. I mean, these guys being atheists, Muslims, and Jews, well, they're over here hearing, they're over here hearing these guys talk about, hey, yo, this is a war of Armageddon. Bro, we're about to bring back Jesus with this war, man. This is a holy war between us and them. And, a lot of guys are sitting back like, whoa there, bro. This ain't the Crusades now. Like, what are you talking about? I thought we're supposed to be going there for their nuclear capabilities, not a religious war. Like, what's going on? But, that's apparently what some of the upper brass in the military has been talking about. This being some kind of holy war. But all right, though, let's get into the attacks on Karg Island. Let's see here. There we go.
In Tehran and other parts of Iran, as U.S. and Israeli attacks continue, several railway lines, bridges, and power lines have been hit across the country. One strike in a residential area in Al-Borz province, west of Tehran, killed at least 18 people. President Donald Trump has set a deadline for early Wednesday morning Iran time for Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He's warned.
So this is why they attacked Israel, because everybody was, crying about how Iran was attacking Israel. And I'm like, oh, this happened 12 hours ago. So this is why they attacked them. Bro, you attacked some of their infrastructure. Like, of course they attacked you. You thought you was safe because that ceasefire popped up? Like, come on now. And that's the problem with Israel. It's like they hit you back, but then when you hit them back, it's like, oh, war crimes. Like, really, bro? Like, come on now. If you're going to be aggressive, at least be able to receive aggression back.
There's been extensive damage in Tehran and other parts of Iran as U.S. and Israeli attacks continue. Several railway lines, bridges, and power lines have been hit across the country. One strike in a residential area in Al-Borz province, west of Tehran, killed at least 18 people. President Donald Trump has set a deadline for early Wednesday morning Iran time for Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He's warned that the country will be left without any power plants or bridges if they fail to make a deal. The Israeli military has warned the public to stay away from Iran's trains and railways. And there are reports of a US-Israeli attack on Iran's Karg Island. US media suggest military locations were targeted. The island is Iran's main hub for the country's oil exports. Now, this is the second time Karg Island has come under attack. We're going to bring in Tauhid S.E.T. now. He is in Tehran. Obviously, this is a significant development, if true. Tauhid, the US and Israel striking Karg Island once again. Do we have any confirmation of that from the Iranian side?
So far, we've got Mehr news agency reporting about some explosions from the Karg Island. Obviously, this is not the first time that we received reports about such attacks. We know that previously the island was targeted, but still the reports were on the basis of the attacks on the military sites, not the oil infrastructure. And to give you a picture of the significance of that island, we know that when it comes to oil exports of Iran, that is critically important, and a huge proportion of oil export of the country goes through the trajectory of Karg Island. Obviously, if that happens, that's going to be a very major development, as the Iranian side has already promised for a retaliatory strike in case of attack on its oil infrastructure, and this is one of the most important ones to be targeted. But still, speaking of the ongoing airstrikes by the Americans and Israelis, and in particular about the risk.
See, and this is why I always listen to foreign media, because they kind of fill in the holes that, you know, American media won't do. Because there's a lot of people that's just thinking that, oh, Iran just hit Israel for no reason. But when you really look into it, let's not forget well, they also hit we helped Israel hit Karg Island, and then Israel also hit some places inside of Iran. And this is like while the ceasefire was being hashed out. So what, was Iran not supposed to attack? So Israel is just allowed to attack whenever they want. Like, but everybody's gonna just be like, oh my God, look at Iran, look at what they're doing, they're attacking them. Yeah, because Israel attacked them. That's what be killing me about this. And this is not a pro-Iran type of like speech here. This is just to me telling you guys, like, yo, try to understand what's going on both sides before you sit there and try to condemn one side while the other one is doing the exact same thing.
Warning that came from the Israeli side. We've got reports about attacks happening targeting the railway station as well as railways across the country. We had it from the local authorities in the city of Mashhad and also in Khuzestan. They have decided to suspend the scheduled trains. Also, we've got this report from railways being targeted between Tehran and Karaj, between Tabriz and Mianeh, also in Khorramshahr, in Zanjan, in Qom and Kashan, also in the city, in the railway between Qom and Kashan. It's reported that at least 2 people have been killed. So this is coming after a direct warning by the Israelis that asked the Iranian citizens to get away, to not stay close to railway stations, and part and parcel of the attacks, increasing attacks, I would say, on Iranian infrastructure. We know that, speaking of the infrastructure, this is not the only place, the only location, but we know that universities are also witnessing the continued campaign of airstrikes. The Ministry of Science, Research and Technology says over 30 universities across the country have been impacted. Over 700 schools have been targeted either directly or indirectly. And a couple of hours ago, earlier in the morning, I was in the campus of Sharif University of Technology, one of the most important technical universities, or perhaps the most important, I would say, known as Iran's MIT, which was targeted yesterday. The amount of damage and destruction to several buildings on the campus was massive. The other day, I was also in Shahid Beheshti's campus. Again, there we witnessed massive, huge amount of destruction as a result of these airstrikes. Again, speaking of the infrastructure, we know that there is a longer list. The Red Crescent says more than 100,000 civilian units have been targeted, some of them fully reduced to rubble, some of them partially impacted. But this is a very, I would say, escalated situation, seeing the scope of these targeted areas getting broadened and getting extended over the past 2 weeks. We know that even the steel companies, which are critically important in terms of industry, have been also impacted, along with other industrial segments, pharmaceutical units, and other industry-related infrastructure.
Well, given that, Tawhid,
All right, though, let's go ahead and get over to this strike on Israel that Iran striked off. Well, because, Israel attacked them. So let's get into it.
Mike, what are we seeing there?
Well, Jesse, as anticipated, the sirens are now wailing over.
We're going to go over to Tel Aviv to talk to Mike again. Mike, what are we seeing there?
Well, Jesse, as anticipated, the sirens are now wailing over Tel Aviv, indicating that another missile is inbound. And it looks like those bright lights in the sky are the missiles. And it looks like you can see an interceptor that is.
Hey, yo, shout out to my man Noah Joyner. Bro, I don't know what's going on. I can't connect my YouTube on I can't connect it on StreamYard. It went live one time on Restream for me, and I was just not doing it at all. I mean, I don't know what in God's name is going on. I'm gonna try to do it again on Restream because it worked like, I don't know, like an hour ago, but we'll see. We'll see. So far, though, yeah, I can't go live on YouTube. I don't got no strike or anything either. far as I'm concerned, I should be able to go live. Like, I'm gonna see though. I'm gonna see.
In hot pursuit of the missiles, and it's always quite dramatic when you see those interceptors going after it. And these ones might disappear behind our building here, and we're going to lose sight of them. But they're still quite lethal and coming into Tel Aviv. And I didn't see an interception in this case. Should be able to hear it in a second or so. And it's still quite lethal when there's an interception. Most of what we see out here are those cluster bombs in recent days. But when you get a conventional warhead with that powerful explosive, obviously you hope that the interceptors can get it. And the interceptors are about 90% effective, but that means 10% get through. And those conventional warheads we've seen are quite powerful. They leave great craters in the ground. Still waiting to hear the impact on this one, which should come any second. But we saw 2 lights in the sky. There. And there was another flash off in the distance there. So there was quite big explosions. So that sounded like more of a conventional warhead that got through. I can't really tell you if that was an impact or an interception because we lost sight of that one, Jesse.
Yeah, you could definitely hear that. Real quick, how long does it take for an Iranian missile to travel to Tel Aviv? What did you say?
Depending on the missile.
I said about 10 minutes usually.
10 minutes?
By the time we from when we about 10 minutes from when we first get the alert till I'm hearing more impacts off in the distance from when we first get the alert to when the sirens start wailing.
All right, well, maybe the remnants of the Iranian regime either didn't get the memo or they did and they don't care. So we'll
all right, let's go ahead and get over here. I know John Bolton got something to say about this. Most likely that Trump should go harder. He shouldn't give them no type of ceasefire. He should just nuke them already. Now, I know he's not going to say directly that, but I'm pretty sure he's against the ceasefire like Mark Levin is. Mark Levin's over there freaking out. Like, how could you let them have a ceasefire? Don't you know they're connected to Hezbollah? Hezbollah! Oh, Mark Levin, bro, that man is hilarious to watch sometime when he just spazzes out about a terrorist organization. It's just like, oh, look, bro, no, I get it. Hezbollah is a threat to you guys. And guess what? They're only a threat when Israel attacks them. So it's kind of funny how Israel attacks Hezbollah, and now we're just supposed to see Hezbollah as this threat towards us right now in this current moment, all of a sudden. So we're just supposed to say F the ceasefire, not try to stop this war because y'all started a war with Hezbollah. No, that's not how it works, buddy.
It keeps extending deadlines. If this deadline comes and goes without the Strait of Hormuz being open, what do you think should happen? I mean, do you think the president should follow through? Otherwise, do you think he risks just sending messages that all of his threats are empty?
Well, I think he's worried about the taco charge. Trump always chickens out. I think this is a result of poor planning on his part. I think it's important that he consult with the Gulf Arab countries. And if they don't like this approach, going after energy infrastructure in particular associated with oil and gas produced by Iran, then we should hear what their alternatives are. I don't know whether that consultation has gone forward or not, but the end result, in my view, ought to be regime change. I don't know what Trump's objective is. I know what my objective would be. And
we always know what you
all
want.
the talk about ending the nuclear program, ending the terrorist threat, ending the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, all depends on getting a different regime. All we're doing right now, and we're doing it very effectively, is what the Israelis call mowing the lawn. I don't want to mow the lawn anymore. I want this threat removed.
If you were advising the president now, would you encourage him to follow through with those specific threats to the civilian infrastructure if tomorrow's deadline comes and goes?
Well, let's take a look at the phrase civilian infrastructure. There's less there than meets the eye.
So AKA, like I said, and I kind of predicted this, he doesn't want no ceasefire. He wants a complete regime change, AKA boots on the ground. He said, F it, let's not mow the lawn and keep coming back. Let's just take care of it for good. And I'm be like, John Bolton, please add details to that. What do you mean by take care of it for good? Like, what would you do? Because it sounds like you might just go ahead and drop a nuke on these guys and just call it a day. That is crazy.
First off, the Revolutionary Guard is typically thought to hold control over about 40% of Iran's economy, from which they derive revenues. Their generals derive revenues. The Guard itself derives revenues. They're part of the war machine. 40%.
I mean, how much money does our military get from us? Just because money goes towards a military doesn't mean you just take out on the whole people. But I mean, it's this kind of funny he's pointing that out. I mean, bro, I'm pretty sure more of our money or more, I'm pretty sure way more money from the American people go to the military than from the Iranian people to the IRGC. I promise you. Shoot, I'm pretty sure we spend more on terrorist proxies than Iran spends on the IRGC.
Percent of the economy. Next, the prohibition is against attacking civilian targets. But, for example, a power plant that provides energy to a military base, to a military facility, to a military manufacturing operation is a legitimate target. There's collateral.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, though. Her face. It's her face. Like, do you see her face? Like, she just brightened up and looked to the side like, that doesn't constitute a legitimate target. Just saying because it has any military use does not constitute as a military target. That's like saying, I don't know, well, there's military guys that go to a university, so that's a military target? Like, do you hear yourself? Like, bro, so the military uses this highway more, I mean, maybe like one time out the week to transfer some stock, but mainly it's used by civilians. Basically, that entire highway is now a military target, is what you're saying. No, that's not how it works. If that bridge or that power plant is mainly used by civilians, like, then it's going to be considered a war crime. If it's mainly used by 80% civilians and only 80% civilian use, 20% military use, bro, it's going to be seen as a war crime because it's going to affect mainly civilians. So just saying that, oh, well, if it just has a little bit, just a tiny bit, just a smidge of military use, it could be greenlit for a strike. You guys are crazy. Absolutely insane.
Civilian damage, that's true, but it's a legitimate target. And what we've seen is that Iran, like Hamas, has spent a lot.
Yo, shout out to my man Noah joining. He's like, but said Israel was promised that land 3,000 years ago. Of course, if we have to remove all those people that live there, of course we have to remove all those people that live there. How else are they going to get that land? I mean, yeah, you know what? Look, they can do whatever they want. Just leave us out of it. That's all we ask for. Like, look, if y'all want greater Israel, go for it. Just leave us out of it. Do it on your own. But apparently y'all can't do that, so I might as well just sit down. But apparently I'm anti-Semitic for saying that. All right, let's get right back into it. Let me see if I can try to get a live on YouTube.
Of effort.
But shout out to my man Noah Joyner. Appreciate it, my man.
Building a military machine underground, but it's left the power for that machine on top of the ground. And I think it's perfectly obvious that highways can be used to move men and equipment and for military purposes. So the words civilian infrastructure are not talismanic. You have to look at specifics. And presumably that's what the lawyers in the Pentagon are doing as they go down the target list. I think we have very high priority in not violating that prohibition against hitting civilian targets. And let's see what happens.
Right, but I mean, the president has mentioned, for example, desalination plants. It's not just the military that would rely on that, right? It's the civilian population for clean drinking oil and power infrastructure that would give the civilian population power, even though the military also relies on it. So how do you untangle the two here?
Well, the first thing to say is there's a lot of untangling to do. You cannot say civilian infrastructure and say home free. That's not the way it works.
Yes, you can. If it's civilian infrastructure mainly used by the civilians, that's exactly what you do. Hey, nah, bro, this man's insane. Bro, this lady's face is saying it all right now. Like, oh, what? Oh my God. Oh, yo, bro, this man's having a full-on neocon crash out moment. Mask off moment. They don't care. They will harm civilians if it means to get their end goal. They do not care about committing war crimes. They don't care about hurting the civilian people. They never cared about the Iranian people. Oh no, it was always about regime change, even though they lied to us in the beginning. Because what is this? What are you saying, bro? Well, just because it has mainly civilian use, I mean, look, all it needs is just 1% of military use and we can strike it. No.
Second, if you want examples in practice of how the United States behaves,
please
consider the bombing of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan.
That was, bruh. That's why we got into the That's why we got into the Geneva Convention and claimed what we did in the past was war crimes, so we won't do it again. Are y'all stupid or something? Did y'all forget that in history class? Do you think the American people are that dumb? Yo, and shout out to this lady because her face is just saying it all right now. It's like, are you seriously saying this? Like, you know, pre-Geneva Convention, you guys sound dumb as hell, and you sound like you don't know history when you talk about shit before World War II or during World War II. Like, yes, we understand that we committed atrocities at that time. So we came out with the Geneva Convention, we signed under it, and we said, yeah, what we did back then were war crimes, and we vow to never do it again. So when this dumbass sits here and talk about what we did in World War II, that's inconsequential to what's going on right now.
Unless people are prepared to say we committed war crimes in the bombing of Japan and Germany, then they can expect something like that as justifiable over Iran.
President Trump today said, regime change wasn't our goal, but there has been regime change because we took out the first round of leadership and the second round, and this round is much more pragmatic and smart, he said. But the bottom line is this ideology against the U.S., against the West, is pervasive in Iran, as you know. And the world's two most capable militaries, the U.S. and Israel, have been working together to kill off Iranian leaders in the IRGC. And the IRGC is still in control in Iran 6 weeks in. Then what is the likelihood that there will be regime change, that they will be wiped out at this point?
Well, first off, the regime has not changed. It's still the same regime for the reasons you state. It's the ideology that controls. Second, it took the Ayatollahs and the Revolutionary Guard 47 years to build this state. We're 6 weeks in. People are in a hurry. It's like a bunch of kids in the backseat of a car saying, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. The people in Iran need to be able to have flexibility to help pull this regime apart at the top. And I think fractures at the top of the regime are already underway. And I think there are people, even in the regime, who are saying, this ship is going down and I don't want to go down with it. That doesn't mean the people go out into the streets to be indiscriminately machine gunned, but there's a lot going on. I thought the most important thing the president has said in the past day is that we gave weapons to the Kurds in northwestern Iran to transmit to other opposition forces. Apparently, they didn't get past the Kurds. I'd like to know more about that. But I say if the opposition wants weapons, we should get in as many as we can.
But if the United States and Israel can't take out the IRGC, then what would guns in the hands of Iranian protesters?
Let's define take it out. Let's define take it out. The regime announced, and many people said with great glee who were opposed to the war, the IRGC decentralized its control structures into each of the 31 provinces. There's no real indication the regime has its act together. I think there are still elements of repression that exist, but we are systematically taking them apart. At least I hope we're still doing that. 6 weeks is not a lot of time. It's not a lot of time. And that may be politically difficult for Trump. That's a political consideration he should have weighed before. Somebody said, what World War II took over 3 years. Oh, does that mean we shouldn't have fought it? I think if you want to remove the threat, you have to face.
No, but it is kind of wild that you're kind of talking about World War II concerning what would constitute as a war crime today. When in World War II, there was nothing that was really considered a war crime. That's why when we walked out of it, we created the Geneva Convention, us and other nations, and we vowed to not do that again. So I'm sorry, but if you're going to say that, oh, well, let's compare what we're doing now to World War II, you're kind of letting us know we're not at the right place right now if we're trying to compare what we're doing now to World War II before the recognition of war crimes. Like, you're letting us know we're not on the right path and we're walking backwards.
the logic that after 47
Use your
years, the regime has not changed its behavior, and it's not going to change it in year 48. If you want to be free of the nuclear threat, free of the terrorist threat, free of the threat of closing the Strait of Hormuz, the logic is change the regime. I don't think there is anybody in this regime at the level of Ghalibaf and dozens of others, frankly, that is any different in their fanatical Islamicist ideology that would treat with the United States. And I think this frantic idea to find Iran's equivalent of Delcy Rodriguez was a fool's errand to begin with. None of these people are going to make any change in policy, if for no other reason at this moment than they're in fear of their own life from their compatriots still in Tehran. So the deadline runs out on April the 6th for the negotiations, if they've even taken place, other than sending notes through intermediaries, which you can parse the word negotiation. That's not negotiation to me.
If Iran gets to this missing American crew member before the U.S. does.
Nah, he's not lying. We're just passing around like our demands. And right now, it's looking like we're just going to work with Iran's 10-point demands, which, like I said, I can read it out again. Let's see, Iran's 10-point peace plan. Let's see, guarantees that Iran will not be attacked again, permanent end to the war, not just a ceasefire, end to Israeli strikes in Lebanon, aka cut the shit with Hezbollah, lifting all sanctions on lifting all U.S. sanctions on Iran, end to all regional fighting against Iranian allies, aka don't fight Hezbollah, don't fight Hamas, and don't fight the Houthis. All right. Iran would reopen the strait. Iran would impose a $2 million fee per ship going through the strait. Iran would split fees with Oman. Iran would establish rules for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran would use Hormuz fees for reconstruction instead of reparations, which, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, basically reparations.
Does that change this war in your view?
Not at all. I mean, we're all concerned to get that crew member back. There's no question about it. I wouldn't want to see any American become a POW of this regime. But let's see what the situation is right now. Iran has now shot down 2 of our aircraft. Kuwait has shot down 3. This happens. It's unfortunate, and it's a propaganda victory for Iran only if we let it become one. This is something that tests our resolve. And we should have had a reserve of resolve before we started the war. And if the president or the White House are shaky because of this, then it indicates yet again that they had not thoroughly thought through what it meant to launch these attacks.
Does it undermine what the White House has been saying about how degraded Iran's capability is? I mean, the president said this week that Iran had no anti-aircraft equipment, that their radar was 100% annihilated.
Sure, it absolutely degrades White House credibility, and that's a self-inflicted wound by the White House, not by the Iranians. If you overstate what you've accomplished, and evidence comes that shows that you've overstated, you look foolish.
Why do you think the president hasn't spoken about this on camera today? Does that stand out to you at all?
No, it sounds to me like he's probably back in a panic mode, wishing he could find a way to declare victory and get out of this war, regardless of whether or not he.
But I mean, trust me, even even like Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, the Israel First guys are telling Trump to get his ass back in the game. Like, get off the bench, get off that ceasefire bench, and get your ass back in the game and go to war with Iran. I don't care what the American people want. It's MEGA now, so go to war with Iran. I mean, look at Laura Loomer's tweets. Look at Mark Levin's tweets. Mark Levin just put out a video talking about, this is wild that we're even in a ceasefire. What about Hezbollah? It's like, bro, his own base, the new MAGA crowd is closing in on him, telling him this is a bad idea, which is wild because I believe that, let's keep on this path. Let's de-escalate and let's see how it goes. But apparently de-escalating is going to be it's going to look like an L for Trump.
Opens the Strait of Hormuz before he does it. I think that's a mistake too. I think that if there had been an effective decision-making process before the war started and these concerns were raised and they bothered the president, he had the option then not to initiate the attack. But apparently he was satisfied. Now, if things are upsetting him that he either didn't think about or didn't pay any attention to in the run up to the war, that's a problem for him. And therefore, it's a problem for the country. But it was easily avoided and should have been avoided.
On the Strait of Hormuz, I mean, the president has gone from saying it's not America's problem, that U.S. allies should just take it, that it would be easy, this would open up naturally once the war is over. Now he said today, with a little more time, we can easily open it, take the oil, and make a fortune. It would be a gusher for the world. I mean, do you have any sense of what he plans to do with the Strait of Hormuz based on that?
No, I don't. But I'm not bothered because I don't think he does either. I think this is just more rhetoric, and I don't think it's helpful. We have an interest in the Strait of Hormuz being open because that region produces 20% of the world's oil, and it doesn't matter that we import very little of it ourselves because oil is priced in a global market. And anybody with their hand on the spigot on the Strait of Hormuz determined to turn it off is going to have a devastating effect on the world economy. That's why we became concerned about this region in the late 1970s, and that concern has not changed. Should others be doing more? Yes, I think the Europeans have made a big mistake in the way they reacted to Trump. But that doesn't lessen our interest in opening the strait for our partners, the Gulf Arabs, who are not getting any oil out. I think we should blockade Iranian vessels from getting out and apply pressure until they allow the Gulf Arabs to ship as well.
I mean, then everybody's going to have a choke point. The blockade is going to be hit by drones and missiles. So, John Bolton, you would just be escalating the situation. And I mean, you have not gave. I'm be real with you at this point. I'd rather Trump be handling this than this guy. Thank God. But all right, though, let's get it over to the next one.
And what he will do.
Earlier today, though, Sandra, President Trump giving his most dire threat yet to the regime, writing, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight."
All right, it is about 43 minutes past the hour, and Fox News alert. Reports now surfacing that Iran's cutting all communications with the U.S. The White House is reacting to those reports, saying this: the Iranian regime has until 8 p.m. Eastern time to meet the moment and make a deal with the United States. Only the president knows where things stand and what he will do.
Earlier today, though, Sandra, President Trump giving his most dire threat yet to the regime, writing, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again."
In moments, Brent Sadler will weigh in on the major threats.
And like I'm saying, I'm happy because and the reason I showed y'all this because this is what he was on. And now we got this, possible 2-week ceasefire. And we'll see if it stands because, like I said, there was just an attack in Israel, even though Israel did attack Iran, and Iran was just responding to that attack. So we'll see if that counts as a break in the ceasefire. Maybe. We'll see. But all right, though, I do got this Piers Morgan video I want to react to. And then, I'm going to have to close it out for the night because, bro, I can't even go live on YouTube. It's crazy. I'm going to try one more time, though. I'm going to try one more time, guys. One more time. But hey, you'll definitely see the clips from this live on YouTube for sure.
I didn't think it was presidential. Someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization.
A lot of this is propaganda. A lot of this are things that we've seen before. The U.S. was already in a hole, and this makes it infinitely worse.
Don't always believe what he says.
When he's threatening genocide?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
What I hear on the panel, there's a lot of people being triggered by Trump. And I think that's what happens when someone with a backbone comes in and says, no, you know what, we're going to stand up to evil.
Here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi?
You know something? You're all taking the bait.
Damn.
The US president had two enormous success stories to celebrate and give thanks for this weekend, besides Easter itself. First, there was Artemis 2, a US-led mission to send human beings further from the Earth than any living being has.
It's crazy. Shout out to my man Noah Joyner in the chat because I know me and you were talking about that. And like I said, it's impressive, and I guess we'll get to see the other side of the moon. It's just that I'm upset that we're not going to land on the moon again. We give these flat earthers something else to point out. See, but you didn't land on the moon. You just rode by it. Those could be artificial pictures. AI. In a time of AI, too, they decide to do this type of mission. I'm like, bro, If I was NASA or if I was in the boardroom at NASA, I'd have been like, look, bro, we got to land on the moon. Like, but it's too expensive. I don't care. We got to land on the moon. The flat earthers are not having it with us. We got to put our ass on the moon and prove these guys wrong forever.
Ever traveled. It's a precursor to returning to the moon and even reaching Mars. By any measure, it's a breathtaking triumph and a tribute to American ingenuity. Second, the daring and audacious mission to save a stricken U.S. Air Force colonel who was forced to eject from his fighter jet in central Iran. More than 150 aircraft spent 50 hours in a race against Iranian forces deep inside enemy territory. The U.S. military is probably the only military that could have pulled that off, and make no mistake, it was humiliating for Tehran. Instead, most of the world's attention and energy, however, has been absorbed by Donald Trump's expletive-laden Easter morning statement and the carnage it foreshadowed. And as I'll come to shortly, today he's gone even further and made things even worse. In just 48 words on Easter morning, the president managed to threaten Iran with war crimes while sounding, frankly, utterly unhinged, contradicting his own strategic aims and offending both Christians and Muslims.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? You'll be lit.
Yeah, Tucker basically had it with his ass. Even Tucker was like, you know what? I always knew there was something funny about you when you didn't put your hand on that Bible the second time you got elected. I knew it. You put your hand on the Bible the first time, but you didn't do it the second time. And now I think you look sus. I mean, shout out to Tucker Carlson, because that's pretty much how he was coming at Trump.
Living in hell. Just watch.
It's like, man, it's like he really pissed Tucker off when he pretty much just disrespect Christians by writing this out on Easter of all days, of all holy days. Like, come on, bro.
Praise be to Allah. So yeah, obviously you're mocking the religion of Iran. Okay. If you seek a religious war, that's a good idea. But by the way, no decent person mocks other people's religions.
The president doubled down yesterday, reiterating that if no deal is reached with Iran by tonight, there will be an all-out assault on civilian infrastructure in which, quote, very little is off limits. Well, some of this was delivered while standing alongside the Easter Bunny, but this is no joke. This morning, Trump issued a post which does nothing less than threaten the Iranian people with genocide. A whole civilization will die tonight, he said, never to be brought back.
And shout out to my man Noah Joyner. He says, yeah, I don't understand why we are not landing on the moon with equipment to work on building a space aircraft that flies like a fighter craft. Honestly, like I said, we're honestly behind, but I got my own little conspiracy theory on that. I think that we're low-key siphoning money away from the people, trillions of dollars. This is where all this money is going from the Pentagon. We're low-key funding some like futuristic civilization that has all this technology that we don't have access to. Only they can have access to it. But yeah. And you know what's funny? I actually got that theory from this what was it? She was like a finance lady that used to work in the Bush administration. Pretty crazy theory. Well, she tracked the money. She tracked the trillions of dollars, and she pretty much found out where it was going. And then she couldn't really like give a name on it, but she's like, you know what? I'm guessing this is the fun, like, secret technology. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can see that.
I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Those words should be chilling to not only the Iranian people, but to everybody. US presidents don't threaten genocide because the US is not capable of genocide. At least that's the world we all grew up in. If you break with that principle, you break it with it any moral authority the US has, and the world becomes a very different place. I understand the argument that Trump is unique in politics and that many in his core base enjoy the fact that he says and does what he feels like. But war isn't about appealing to a base. It's about building consensus for the most expensive and deadly gamble any leader can make, especially as the US now prepares to escalate hostilities to a level which will shock the world. Not so very long ago, we documented with precision the incoherent ramblings of President Biden. And not long before that, there were enormous scandals about the dignity of the office because President Obama saluted with a latte, wore a tan suit, and used a selfie stick. Are people now just being intellectually inconsistent or downright dishonest? Or has America's sense of right and wrong really changed so much in such a short space of time?
No, you know what's so crazy? I said the same thing, though, in my head. I'm like, bro, let Obama or Biden be doing this, and every person in MAGA will be calling this a war crime. But because Trump is doing it, all of a sudden these guys are just blind. Oh, they don't see it now. Oh, they don't see it, bro. They're now over here, bro. let Obama or Biden been doing this and everybody be seeing this clearly. They wouldn't be buying this dumbass bullshit of, oh, well, if just one soldier walks across that bridge, it's a target now. It's like, no, they wouldn't be buying that. They wouldn't be hearing that if it was Obama or Biden. But for some reason, they're buying the BS.
If the next wave of US attacks is anything like the president is warning, we'll soon have a definitive answer. Well, to debate all this, the host of System Update, Glenn Greenwald, the former US Deputy National Security Advisor, Katie McFarland, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and the former US Air Force combat pilot, Ryan Bodenheimer, known to many as Max Afterburner. Well, welcome to all of you. Well, let me start with you, Glenn Greenwald. I got to say, there's this whole thing about, you shouldn't take everything Trump says literally, shouldn't take it overly seriously. But what else are we supposed to do when the president of the United States literally posts a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again? I don't want that to happen, but it probably will, about Iran and the 90 million people that live there. What else are we supposed to do with that but take it seriously and literally?
If you don't take that extremely seriously and literally, then you're acting with unbelievable recklessness. And this is not the first statement that Trump has made that has suggested this. He was talking to reporters over the weekend and essentially saying that there'd be nothing off the table in terms of what he would do to Iran, what he would destroy. We're talking about civilizational annihilation. That's not my interpretation. That's literally what Trump himself said. And even if it turns out that doesn't happen, he finds a way to get out of it this time. He postpones the deadline again. The fact that we have an American president in the middle of a war threatening to annihilate permanently a thousands-year-old civilization.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm still having trouble bringing it up on YouTube for some reason, bro. I don't know, bro. Not even Rumble is letting me go live on YouTube. At this point, I'm contacting support, and they're telling me there's nothing wrong. And I'm just like, bro, all the streaming services are saying I can't connect to this. So, like, what's going on? But, I mean, we'll see.
Over a country that did not attack the United States, has never attacked the American homeland, has not tried, is one of the most disturbing and morally reprehensible things I've ever heard an American president say. And the last point I'll just make is that, we're so inured as Americans, and even in Great Britain and parts of Europe, to war, where we fight wars so often, so frequently. It's kind of like a natural state of affairs that, which country are we going to go to war with? There's a reason we say war is a last resort. It's not like a cliche. It's supposed to be the high moral mandate. And it's because things like this can spiral out of control very quickly in ways that people didn't predict and didn't plan. It does things to human beings, war does, that make them act in all sorts of extraordinarily destructive ways. And we are at a moment of grave danger simply by the fact that Trump issued this threat, let alone whether he follows through.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rob O'Neill has also joined us, former US Navy SEAL, of course, who killed Osama bin Laden. For some reason, your name didn't appear earlier, Rob, but probably because we elevated you to a VIP level of panel member, given your service to your country. So my apologies. Let me go to you, Rob, because both you and Ryan obviously have served in combat. In fact, only last night, I was watching a riveting Netflix documentary about the raid to kill Osama bin Laden. And of course, you were the man who finally pulled the trigger that killed him. So you are the best person imaginable to ask about several things that have happened in the last few days. Let's start with a big positive, which was the incredible rescue mission to get this colonel who had obviously crash landed, and then there was a hunt to get him. The more detail I read about this, Rob, the more incredible it becomes. What did you make of this operation?
Yeah, this was a rescue of a downed aviator and or air crew like we've never seen before. Just the amount of assets that we had. What was unique about this, though, is we're able to see exactly where they are pretty much all the time. There's other air assets, other intelligence assets in the air watching. When they're hit and they eject, obviously, it must have been at high altitude. I don't know the exact details of the elevation, but they separated by a couple miles. And at that point, everything stops and we need to find them. So they ended up going in with the Tier 1 unit with SEAL Team 6, and they flew in some C-130s with a lot of people. The guerrilla package is what it is. And that, I mean, they can do pretty much stuff. They're at a forward operating base that they made there on an airfield. There's other stuff they could be doing there, too, because it was a few days on the ground. I'm not sure what it was, but I know with that many people, that many assets, they're in there. The pilot did a great job with the encryption and the survival radio that he did have, because it's sending encryption stuff. I don't want to get too much into it. He evaded. a lot of counterintelligence with the 3-letter agencies in there, and then the pilot getting to a spot and not moving. When people are in a major stress like that, distressed as well, they have a tendency to run away from things. It's best to find high ground and let the good guys come to you, which he did. Good on him, because he's hurt, he's wounded, he's bleeding, making it to the high ground and then not falling for any of the tricks. Hats off to everybody. So much going on, a lot more than the time we have today. But for the men and women involved with all of this, seeing what will, I've seen it firsthand, the assets that we will use to get a single American back says a lot about our country. It also delivers a message that when we want to go anywhere in the world, the United States can do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought that was an astonishing rescue mission. I read the full New York Times account of it, and honestly, it was breathtaking. And I give great credit to Donald Trump for sending in literally the whole kitchen sink to rescue this guy, and they got him out with no loss of life on the American side. Incredible. Yep. But it begs the question.
And I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy with it too. The problem is that we were bragging about air superiority that we apparently don't have all the way through, but we're over here supposed to believe that we just have it. And when this ship gets brought, not ship, but when the aircraft gets brought down, I mean, look, we're caught up in the hoorah of the mission, success, but we're forgetting the whole whoa. Like, our ship was not our ship, but our aircraft wasn't even supposed to be shot down in the first place. We're supposed to have air superiority. Well, as Trump said, they got lucky. So, I mean, hopefully they don't get lucky again, because they got lucky with like 3 other aircrafts.
Rob, and I'd be very interested in what you feel about this.
2 others.
Trump could have taken a victory lap over that, and everyone would have applauded. Trump could take a victory lap over Artemis, and everyone can applaud this astounding achievement we're watching of human beings going further than they've ever gone before in space. These are 2 great American achievements in the last few days. But what most of the world is talking about are 2 posts on social media by Donald Trump. One in which he says, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah." And the other one, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want it to happen, but it probably will." And, I've known Donald Trump 20 years. He's always shot from his mouth. He's always shot from the hip. He says, he's a trash-talking New York real estate guy. Okay, but now he's the leader of the free world. He's the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief of the American military. Would you have felt comfortable if you were still serving with the commander-in-chief posting like that?
I have to be honest, Piers. I went to Truth Social to see if they were actually posted. I didn't think it was presidential, and I know that it's very difficult to be around President Trump and tell him something you disagree with. I know the man. I've had dinner at the White House with him. But someone should step up to something like this. The optics are very important, and you really can't say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization. You're already teetering on what rules the Geneva Convention has, and you start talking about if you're hitting a vital infrastructure for civilian survival, that's against the Geneva Convention. You can't do it. Now, if it's dual purpose, which a lot of these people do, that's for a lot of the higher ups to decide. But I don't think it's proper to get on social media and say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization like that. It's one of the, look, he's angry. He's mad at NATO. He's mad at our so-called allies for not helping, and he's yelling at his phone. You need to take a deep breath and realize you're the commander-in-chief of the military. You're the leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the free world. There's something just shouldn't be said, even if you want to. For me, it's one of those things, and trust me, as someone on social media who, the next day wakes up and says, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, there is a time to type something up or even handwrite a letter, put it in a drawer and forget about it. If it doesn't bother you in 24 hours, it shouldn't be put out to the world. I think as the top boss in the military, inappropriate.
Yeah, I completely agree. Stay with me, panel. We'll come to the other members for their response to this in a second. Just joining me now briefly is Ro Khanna, Democratic congressman in California.
Oh, man, he's been calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump for since he made that statement. Well, long before he made the statement, but he's really been doubling down on it to really make sure that people understand that, hold on, we might need to, get this man up out of here through the 25th Amendment. Let's see if you know what? Most likely it's not going to happen, but trust me, after that tweet, I can see why the Dems are pushing for it.
Ro Khanna, welcome back to Uncensored. To even hear, Rob O'Neill, a highly decorated U.S. Navy SEAL, obviously the man who killed Osama bin Laden, even he is very uncomfortable with the language being used here. I think that is a view shared by many in the American military. Why is Donald Trump doing this? Who is he appealing to with this kind of language?
Well, Donald Trump needs to be removed from office. Even if this is a threat and he doesn't plan on following through, it shows the utter contempt and inhumanity that Trump views people in Iran or in the Middle East or in the developing world with. It's not the American way of valuing the dignity and life of every individual. I mean, he's calling them animals. That's the same thing Gallant said about the Palestinians. He has a fuel blockade on Cuba, starving people there because he doesn't care about their life. And now he's talking about civilization annihilation. I am tired of the Democrats just using procedural language. We need to say this is a moral crime. We need to call for his removal, and we need to stand up for American principles, which is the equality and dignity of every human life. Those are Christian values. They're constitutional values.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing people who are more expert than me in the legal aspect of some of what he's saying. And they're saying that even signaling an intent to commit what he's suggesting, a whole civilization being killed, in other words, presumably every Iranian, 90 million people, even an American president signaling an intent to do that could be a war crime. It could already breach international law. Is that your understanding?
I do believe that. And this is what, of course, got Netanyahu's government into trouble with the ICJ and the UN. They had all of these ministers making statements of intent of treating people like animals, of starving them. And now you have Donald Trump echoing the same language. Look, Americans view ourselves as deeply good. We want to be a force for good in the world. We're the nation that defeated Nazism.
I mean, let's be real. We don't want to sit there and just start trying to champion war crimes. I mean, we don't want to sit there and try to make excuses for war crimes. I mean, that's what I was debating Monty on. This man was going like, well, you know, if just a couple trucks go, military trucks go over there, we could blow up that bridge. I'm like, no, bro, that's not how it works. And then when they want to bring up examples, they want to start talking about, oh, before World War II or during World War II. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's why we don't do that. Because we signed the Geneva Convention. We understood that what we did was wrong. So sitting there and try to rationalize something that we've already established is wrong is insane and extreme like cope. And this is why I be saying that, yes, this war got some people brainwashed to the point where you guys are willing to condone war crimes. I mean, and you're willing to be an idiot like John Bolton going like, well, you know, if just one soldier walks across that bridge or if they have a march across there, we can blow it up. And I'm like, even though it's used by mainly civilians, no, that may be true. But it just has to have a little bit of military use. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. Like, oh, this power plant just needs to have a little bit of military use so we could blow it up, even though it's going to send millions of innocent civilians into the darkness. It just needs to send 10,000 IRGC into the darkness, but we can handle millions of the citizens being in darkness. Yeah, that's a war crime. Like, I don't even get how this is even a debate.
We're the nation that defeated communism. We're the nation that goes in and rescues people when they have enemies attacking them. We're not a nation that is out there to destroy civilizations. It goes against the very essence of America's self-conception as a nation dedicated to equality and liberty and enlightenment ideals. And Trump is doing something so corrosive to who we are as an American nation. I hope other Republicans will start to call for his removal.
Well, you know, I was telling Rob O'Neill, I watched a documentary about the killing of Osama bin Laden and that incredible raid. You know, Al-Qaeda, his terrorist organization, this is the kind of language they would use about America, right? Death to all Americans, death to America. This is terrorist language. And I'm just astonished that Donald Trump would post this publicly and expect there to be no legal fallout from that whatsoever. I just want to move generally. There's a big split going on the Republican side of this. We're going to come to some clips later in the show from Tucker Carlson railing against Trump here. Marjorie Taylor Greene has attacked him, calling, like you have, the 25th Amendment to be implemented. So we cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. One of the biggest cheerleaders for Trump has been Mark Levin, who has also taken time out to call you a Jew-hating, America-hating demagogue, and says the media continuing to give you airtime as if you're some kind of legitimate politician is outrageous. I'm very happy to give you airtime. What is your response to Mark Levin?
Like,
well, I had to Google who he was. I didn't know who he was. And then I looked up, I guess he's a blast from the past, someone who was cheerleading us into the Iraq war and this militarism. But he doesn't represent the new generation. And Piers, it's really important, I think, that people who watch your show around the world understand there is a new generation of Americans. We're tired of these wars. We want to build a cohesive multiracial democracy. We want an America where everyone has an economic shot, and we're going to come to power in 26 and 28. So for those who think that Trump is America, they're just wrong. It's a dying gasp at a nostalgia and a past that many of the new generation reject. And Levin represents the worst of that tradition, but he's kind of irrelevant. I mean, I almost shouldn't have responded. I gave him, probably now more people know him than ever knew him before. And I would pay attention to where the future of this country is.
How do you feel about the fact that you and Tucker Carlson are pretty well in total agreement about what is happening with the Republican president?
Well, I appreciate that Tucker has actually been speaking out against the war in Iran. I mean, he, as you know, interviewed Ted Cruz. Cruz didn't know there were 90 million people there. Tucker has said that these wars of choice in the Middle East are making America less safe. They're strengthening China. We should be focused on rebuilding our industry. We should be focused on our people, childcare, healthcare, and that this is not in America's interest.
Now, the funny thing about that interview between Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, when he asked him that question, it exposed the fact that these neocons want to go to war with countries that they have no understanding about. None whatsoever. Like, the fact that you want to go to war with a country you don't even know that there's 93 million people there is crazy. He's like, you could probably say, you know, that country is like pretty much like covered by mountains, right? It's going to be hard to put ground troops on. You know that, right? He probably wouldn't even know that. We're dealing with people who want to go to war with a country that they know nothing about, nor do they care to know. All they know is that we got the best military, so F it, let's go on in.
But he's gone further, as has Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is not who America is. If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Christian teaching, how can you be for these kind of posts on Easter Sunday? If you believe in a nation that has been influenced by Locke and Rousseau and Enlightenment ideals, how can you believe that every human life doesn't have dignity? No. Of course, America First means we take care of our own people. It doesn't mean that you don't recognize the life and dignity of every human being. And so what Tucker is speaking about, or Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking about, are basic understanding of American founding values. And Trump is making a mockery of everything that makes America exceptional. But fortunately, he's a chapter that is going to be soon in the past. I fundamentally believe we're going to become a cohesive multiracial democracy, and this will be seen as something that America overcame.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's go back to the panel. And before we go to the panel members who haven't spoken yet, I want to play this clip from Tucker Carlson, which has gone viral today.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? No, this is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. We can't support that. That is evil. That is an intentional desecration of beauty and truth, which is the definition of evil.
Okay, well, let's go to Katie McFarland, former U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor. What do you feel about this? I mean, as an American, do you feel comfortable about the President of the United States posting this kind of rhetoric?
You know something? You're all taking the bait. Donald Trump is in the final hours of a negotiation that could prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran having nuclear weapons would be like Adolf Hitler having.
I mean, in a 2-week ceasefire, didn't y'all always like to say they're just 2 weeks away? So, I mean, what happened to all that? Like, y'all the main ones talking about this whole 2 weeks away theory. Now we're getting a 2-week ceasefire. And you're going like, well, do you mean this is pinnacle, God? This is pinnacle to them keeping away from a nuclear weapon. I mean, what you mean? We're giving them a 2-week break to go ahead and get that, well, that bomb that you're oh so scared about. Now, that's not what I'm saying, that Iran's going to go towards that bomb in 2 weeks. I'm just saying, though, if you're over here crying about, oh, Iran having a nuclear capability, but I just don't get the logic here. The same people that says Iran is going to make a bomb in 2 weeks are okay with this 2-week ceasefire. And you know what? I'm okay with it, but Not for the reasons that they're okay with it. It's just actually funny how that is. But all right, I'll let her finish her point. But it's just kind of funny how she said that.
Trump is in the final hours of a negotiation that could prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Iran having nuclear weapons would be like Adolf Hitler having nuclear weapons in World War II. You bet he's tough. You bet he's not playing by the Marcus of Queensberry's rules. He is in the middle of a negotiation, and he's threatening the IRGC. He's threatening the Iranian regime, or what's left of it,
and the Iranian people.
You come to me, you make a deal with me, and here's the deal: no nuclear weapons.
But he's not, though, is he? He's not. He's threatening the entire Iranian population. That is what he meant by a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. He's not just threatening the regime or the IRGC. He is being very specific that this will involve the removal of the entire civilization in Iran. That is genocide. That is a war crime.
You know, I guess I would think that what President Trump is doing now, don't always believe what he says. Because he says
when he's threatening genocide,
wow, bro. All right, bro. Is he the fuck around, find out president or not? Is he the promise kept president or not? Because now y'all just saying, well, you know, don't always take what he says as true. Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, bro, is he Mr. FOF or find out? Like, come on now. Like, well, what is it? Like, pick a position, pick a side. Is he Taco Trump or is he fuck around and find out? Which one?
I think he's threatening genocide. I think he's threatening to remove the Iranian regime.
He doesn't say that.
Well, I think that's what he's talking about. He's removing the Iranian regime.
Why doesn't he say that?
If you look at the press conference that he gave yesterday, what did he say? We are now negotiating with new Iranians. We are now negotiating with the new Iranians.
Who he's now threatening to kill, along with every other Iranian tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning, English time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I mean, he couldn't be less ambiguous if he tried. It couldn't be more crystal clear.
I understand you don't like the words, but let me just ask you, in 24 hours...
How could anybody like the words? I mean, all due respect, Katie McFarland, explain to me who would like these words and why you would like them. Do you like them?
This is going to be MAGA probably for the next couple of weeks, trying to make this make sense, or trying to, honestly, so not even trying to make it make sense, but trying to make this right. For some reason, like I said, in MAGA, they're trying to over here and say, well, war crimes are good now. They're over here trying to say that, well, this 2 weeks ceasefire is a good thing, even though all we've been doing is crying about all Iran needs is 2 weeks to get to a bomb. And I mean, what would be a better opportunity to get to a bomb than in these 2 weeks right here? I'm just saying, I mean, let's stay consistent now. Will y'all, or will y'all just sit there and run to the defense of Trump every chance you get?
Yeah, of course I don't like them. But the point is not whether I like them or not. It's whether the Iranian regime believes them. Do they believe it's a legitimate and credible threat?
But they don't. They've already come out and said they're not. They're now stopping all negotiation with the Americans over these posts. They want nothing to do with them. They're not negotiating, and in fact, they're coming out now saying we're more than happy to give our lives for our country and our cause. Which, of course, many people understand that is what the Iranian regime ideology is all about, right? So why would this kind of threat ever work? And also, what happens if we get to 8 p.m. tonight Eastern and Trump doesn't follow through with his threat? Then he's the boy. Then he's the boy that cried wolf. Then he's the emperor with no clothes. So I don't see how this works on any level. Either he commits a genocide and will be damned for eternity and probably start World War III, or he doesn't do it. The Iranians ignore his threats, and Trump is made to look impotent as a leader. How does this work as a victory for him? I don't get it.
I think you've just made your point. That Iran, you talked about the leadership of Iran. You talked about the martyrdom they want. How do you feel if Iran has nuclear weapons? You know, there's a cost to doing nothing. There's a cost to
I don't want them to have it, but my understanding of that issue is that we were told last summer, after the 12-day war, that all threat of a nuclear weapon being developed by Iran had been taken out. Now, within 10 months, we're told we now have to threaten World War III to stop them getting a nuclear weapon that we were told only 10 months ago we had stopped them getting. All the enriched uranium is buried deep below the ground. Most military experts I've heard talk about this say there's no way to get it without committing ground troops, which could lead to catastrophic losses on the American side. So again, I ask, how does any of this stop Iran anyway from developing nuclear weapons? If we're not going to get the enriched uranium without blowing up the entire population, explain to me how we stop them developing a nuke.
Well, what you just said is that you're willing to live with a nuclear Iran. I am not willing to live with a nuclear Iran.
I didn't say that.
For the very reason that you just...
I'm so weak, bro. It's like they don't, bro. They can't even have a real argument. All they have is shaming tactics. When they can't beat your argument, so what are you? They're like, do you work for the Iranians? Oh, so I guess you're just gonna cover for Iran now. What? Because you can't beat the argument? Because you can't sit there and explain why this is a good idea or how does this benefit us? Like, it sounds like you want a nuclear Iran. Well, ma'am, I'm gonna be real with you. The first Ayatollah, well, not the first, but Khomeini, the guy that we blew up, guess what? He nipped that in the bud for us. So if you were really about making sure Iran didn't have a nuclear weapon, you'd have been for keeping that man alive. But apparently you don't know that. That is insane. I mean, honestly, if you was for them not having a nuclear weapon, you'd have been okay with Obama's deal. But apparently, I mean, you know, I get that, you know, you guys don't like Obama. Like, you have this, I mean, senseless hate for Obama. And I somewhat get it. But let's be real, guys. We got to give people their dues. And like, bro, that JCPOA gave us exactly what we wanted out of Iran. Eyes on their nuclear capabilities.
Said, well, you said we can't find the enriched uranium. How do you know we can't find the enriched uranium? You know, one of the problems that President Trump saw is that we thought we'd obliterated everything. And what did the Iranians do? The very next day, they started rebuilding. I taught nuclear weapons at MIT in the 1980s. What do you need for a nuclear weapon? You need three things. You need highly enriched uranium, which we know they've got. We're not sure where it all is. We don't know if they've already destroyed it all. You need a plan to take that highly enriched uranium and turn it into a bomb. And then you need a missile to deliver that nuclear weapon. What was Iran? So they've got the missiles. We've just seen that they've demonstrated they have the reach to reach Europe from Iran. We know they've got highly enriched uranium, and we're pretty sure they've got the blueprint that's going to pull it all together. So they're close to a nuclear weapon. If the United States waits until after they have a nuclear weapon, can you imagine the blackmail that Iran would do, not just to the region, but to the world?
Okay, let me bring in Cenk Uygur. I mean, Cenk, I was pretty horrified when I saw the post today. I was pretty horrified when I saw the post on Easter Sunday, to be honest with you. I just thought it was so inappropriate. And, you know, I always have an allowance for Trump to do a bit of trash talking. I don't like it when he trash talks about people who've just died. I think that's inappropriate and wrong. I wish he wouldn't do it. This is a whole different level of trash talking. This is basically threatening public brazen genocide. That's what he's doing. There is no defense for this, but I just find it astonishing that there are any people prepared to defend it.
Yeah. So I think what Katie McFarland was just saying is absurd. And listen to what she said. She said, well, what if the Iranians get a nuke? First of all, preposterous. They don't have any ability to deliver that enriched uranium. She knows it. This is all about regime change. It's for Israel. We all know that. In fact, Israel has nukes, and they're a super dangerous country. Ben Gvir on TV.
I know, bro. And here's the funniest thing, though. It's like, I get it. Iran's the enemy of the year right now. But it's kind of funny, though, because, they have a nuclear enrichment. Yeah, you know, the one, they're under the proliferation treaty, that they are. And two, one, Israel's not under no nuclear proliferation treaty. They have illegal nukes, by definition, illegal nukes. And Iran, they have no nukes, not one. But we're not this hard on Israel. And I know people say, well, they're an ally. So our allies are allowed to break the law? Our allies are allowed to have illegal nukes. But then you don't see how the people who are not our allies might not want to position themselves, since it's rules for thee and not for us. It's like, that's kind of wild. And you can't sit there and say that it's not. And you can't sit there and think that they're just supposed to sit there and abide by that structure of power.
Yesterday was joking around about nuking Iran and how he would like to do that. So, and she says, oh my God, can you imagine if the Iranians had nukes, they might want to wipe out our entire civilization. That's what Trump just said. Trump is, like you said earlier, Piers, he's talking like a terrorist. So this is the Israelification of our policy. They're pro-genocide. We're not pro-genocide. We're the good guys. And so this is unbearable. This is, look, I reach out to all voters, including Trump voters, all the time. I'm the last person to rub it in and go, ha, you made a mistake. I love it when people come to the right side. I'm the guy who said Marjorie Taylor Greene, Massey, and Tucker Carlson would do the right thing on war and Iran, and I'm relieved to see that they did, and I really appreciate it. But guys, this is why I was forced to vote for 3 corporate Democrats I can't stand, because the alternative was this madman, Donald Trump. He's always been a madman. He's always been a spoiled child. His father gave him $400 million and he blew it. And then his second daddy, Jeff Zucker, gave him $400 million through The Apprentice and he blew that. So when he gets into this quagmire, he just said yesterday, he didn't think that they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz. We all knew they were going to close the Strait of Hormuz. How could you not know that? So he gets frustrated. He got talked into it by Israel. So now he can't find a way out. And so he starts screaming into the abyss like a spoiled child. Give me what I want or I'll destroy you. And I'll take my ball and go home, except I'll nuke you first. This is disgusting talk. And look, I think there is a third alternative to what you just said.
All right.
There's a possibility.
That's funny as hell. I mean, you could tell he's a bit sick. So guess what? We're not going to hear a yelling jank tonight. But it is wild though. He's like, give me all your oil or I'll destroy you. And he did talk about taking their oil, which is, I mean, that's be a war crime. That's a war crime as well. It's just, or not, well, not really a war crime, but it's breaking international law just to sit there and take somebody's resources. But we did that in Venezuela, so it is what it is. And I was okay with that. So if Trump wants to do that and take their oil, I mean, good luck, but it's not going to be easy as Venezuela, and we are going to have to put boots on the ground for that endeavor. So if you're ready to lose American life for that, which I disagree with, then, I mean, go ahead. But let's be honest here. I mean, taking oil out of Venezuela and taking oil from Iran are 2 different things, 2 different endeavors that are going to have 2 different outcomes. And here's the thing, we already did Venezuela. We got a good outcome out of that. We're trying to do Iran, and it's a mess. It's a complete mess.
Possibility, Piers, that he's threatening to blow up the power plants and the bridges and to nuke them or do whatever he's madman talk that he's doing. And then he's instead going to put in ground troops and go, I'm so clever. You were expecting the bombing, but I put in ground troops instead. But we didn't want ground troops. None of these choices are good. We shouldn't be in this war in the first place. There's nothing but disastrous choices for us. And of course, meanwhile, Israel is laughing and laughing because, number one, they want a mess and chaos in Iran so that it debilitates them and they can't fund Hamas and Hezbollah. And number 2, they have the Leviathan pipeline now. It is a giant gas field. So if we bomb Iran's gas fields and they bomb the Gulf gas fields, the number 1 winner economically is Israel. So they can't wait for this kind of death and destruction. He should have, he fired Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi. He should have fired all the Israel First advisors that are surrounding him, which is literally everyone at the White House.
Okay.
Clean house, get Americans in there, not people serving a different country, and especially a genocidal country like Israel. That's why you get the kind of talk that you're seeing today.
Okay, but the only bigger...
And by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's...
I ain't gonna lie. The way Trump was talking on Twitter, I thought Bibi done snatched his phone and just got loose with it.
He does it or not, the mere fact of saying that America would destroy an entire civilization and commit genocide or a Holocaust like this puts a moral stain on us. We cannot bear that moral stain. We're supposed to be the good guys. This kind of language, even if he doesn't follow through on it, is a terrible mark on America, and we shouldn't tolerate it.
Okay. I'm a bit concerned about you, Cenk.
All right. Yeah. I pretty much can't go live on YouTube for the next 24 hours because they said because I don't know what it was, but apparently when I was setting up a live, the live decided to not duplicate, not triple, not quadruple, but I don't know. I mean, 8 triple itself all down my my stream schedule, and now I just can't set up any more streams on YouTube for the next 24 hours. I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. Not even know, and for some reason, that's what one of the streaming platforms did, not me. But hey, it is what it is, though. We'll be back tomorrow.
You're losing your voice. I'm not sure the American people could suffer that blow at this particular time.
Don't worry, if Katie says one more thing, I'll show you what voice I have
I'm just
left.
worried if you do one of your regular blow-ups, this could be it. We could have the silencing of Cenk Uygur in real time. Let me come to Ryan, Max Afterburner. Max, what do you feel about this? I mean, you've served in combat. You're a U.S. Air Force combat pilot. I presume you would share Rob's view and my view that the rescue mission was unbelievable, incredible heroism, both by the pilot and by the teams that went to get him. It was remarkable. But rather than talking about that, we're all talking about this threat from Donald Trump. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, good to see you, Piers. Good to see everybody else as well. So I think Rob would agree with this. There's never a good time in the middle of the night to come face to face with a Navy SEAL unless you're the weapons systems officer getting rescued. So overall, just a great operation. I'm so proud of all the rescue forces and the Wizzo himself. And again, what a great day for America, getting that aviator back safe. But the thing I want to talk about that I want to highlight and add some context to everybody talking about a whole civilization will die tonight. If we just go to the bottom of that truth post, it says 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. So as you can see right there, he's not saying he's going to have a genocide on the people of Iran. What he's saying is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that took over 47 years ago is who he's focused on eradicating. And remember, he's dealing with terrorists. This is a terrorist regime. So for 10 years, I studied the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in back vaults for the U.S. Air Force. And we always knew this is what they were going to throw at the end game of this war, which are terrorist proxy tactics. So that's going to be the first brief that President Trump got from General Raising Cane is, hey, look, at the end of this, when their military is decimated, their Navy is decimated, they're going to rely on proxy tactics to cause pain on the global economy in the Straits of Hormuz. And so we're seeing that play out. Now, could the president have used some different choice words instead of a whole civilization? Maybe that can be taken out of context. So yeah, he could have changed that.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
Max,
but
look, I
if you
appreciate you translating the president's words into
Yeah,
a
well, it
far,
doesn't even need to be
into a far
translated,
more
Piers.
benign word.
It did need to be translated. I mean, bro, you should probably be the man's spokesman. You'd be better than Caroline Leavitt. But yeah, I mean, that's a good translation of it. But sorry, we're gonna take the president at his word on that one. He said the end of a civilization, aka, man, he don't care. He will send them back into the Stone Age. He will start attacking civilian infrastructure that's already been attacked in. By the way, there's like over 100,000 civilian homes and like infrastructure that's been attacked already. So come on, well, civilian locations and all that good stuff. Over 100,000 locations and houses and homes and all this good stuff is like have already been hit. So to sit there and say now you just start attacking their infrastructure, what holds up their water, their energy, and other stuff, is like, yeah, you're pretty much saying you're willing to inflict harm on the entirety of the Iranian people, not just the IRGC. And you're doing this to think that, oh, well, we're going to turn the Iranian people against them. But as you see, now you got Iranian people having a whole circle outside of power plants saying, all right, well, if you're going to take this out, take us all out. And if we do that, that's really going to be a war crime.
Well, but the reality is, had he started by saying, I want to get rid of this IRGC regime, okay, that's one thing, right? But he didn't. He used the words, a whole civilization will die tonight.
Right, that could be taken out of context.
You might have wanted him to say what you've just articulated.
Yeah.
And if he'd said that, there wouldn't be the outrage there is. But he didn't say that.
Well, he did at the end. He brings it home.
No, he says at the end something that is
bro.
completely contradictory to what he said at the start, which is
No, he did not. Come on, dog. Like the cope.
Classic Trump in this war. You know, one of the things, as you know, sure. I mean, I would say to you, Max. I would say to you, but should I call you Max or Ryan? By the way,
Ryan's fine.
Ryan, you know, when you were serving, right? To have a commander-in-chief sending such mixed messages all the time, in real time, publicly, right? I mean, this is not good for anyone serving in the United States.
And I can understand why it's
military.
confusing. But the art of war, so that's one of the tactics that has been used in military operations for thousands of years. The art of war is you keep them guessing. You don't want to tell the Iranian regime when this war is going to end. You don't want to tell them what's coming next. You don't want to tell them what you will or won't strike. So
yeah, but you wouldn't know when the Art of War was written before the establishment of war crimes. It is still a good book. It's still a good book. I've read it before. It holds a lot of life lessons in it. But here's a problem. I mean, you remember that was written in a time where, bro, you was allowed to genocide an entire village of people and it was all good. I mean, shoot, that was just a regular day in the war. So I'm sorry, but you don't take us that far back now.
Deception is a huge part of warfare, and that's something that's hard for the civilian population to understand. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with a terrorist regime, so you have to sometimes fight fire with fire.
Okay, just before I come back to Glenn, I want to just ask Rob O'Neill something that Tucker Carlson also said. He publicly urged United States military and Pentagon officials to actively defy Trump and refuse orders if he attempts to launch nuclear weapons against Iran.
If you work in the White House or in the U.S. military, now it's time to say no, absolutely not, and say it directly to the president, no. In case you're thinking about using some weapon of mass destruction against the population of Iran, in whose name we liberated Iran, we killed their religious leader for their benefit. Do you remember that? This was last month. Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say no.
What do you feel about that, Rob? I mean, the idea that people serving at high level in the military or at the Pentagon would defy an instruction from the commander-in-chief to launch a nuclear weapon.
Well, I mean, that's not going to happen. Those are, they're going to have to be, they'll need to be lawful orders. And the whole thing with deciding what order is lawful is completely against the uniform code of military justice. Never happened. Plus, if you notice, he didn't say nuclear weapons. We do have weapons more powerful than nuclear weapons. People are going to get wrapped up in that 80s style of Russia versus the United States. But we have stuff there. And just other things you got to consider. Yes, the Truth Social is social media, and he's using it sort of as a bargaining chip. You got to figure, look at the amount of time we had tier 1 operators on the ground. Who's to say we didn't get the uranium already? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we do. It's not just shoot from the hip. We have very talented people doing a lot of talented stuff.
You know, it's crazy. People are saying that mission was actually, to save, one, we were going there to save the pilot, but we were also trying to steal their uranium at the same time. And I think the Iranians has even caught on, and they've called us out on it. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if that's really was our mission were. I just leave it at, we were just trying to get our guy back. But maybe, guys, you know what? Just to take a quick little break, let's get right into it with the Lego video. Because, Iran, bro, these guys are just knocking out these Lego videos like it ain't nothing. And they're pretty entertaining. So let's get right into it.
Yeah. They said it was a rescue, but it was a heist. Uranium heist. Uranium heist. Tried to steal our uranium in the dead of night. Commandos, Rangers, Black Hawks in the fight failed miserably. Just like Tabas, right? They flew deep into ice, thought we wouldn't see. Special forces, excavators trying to take our enriched uranium for free. Attacked our defenses, tried to seize the ground, but we lit them up. Now the birds are down. C-130 gone, Black Hawks burning in the sand. 600 million wasted on a failed master plan. They called it a rescue, but the world knows the truth. They came for our uranium. That's the real proof. We said it clear, this wasn't random at all. They wanted our nuclear material, that was the goal. Deep into our territory under constant threat, but they got exposed. Now the whole world sees their regret. Felt like Tabas, history repeating again. Superpower embarrassed, losing more than just man. You try to rob us in the middle of the war, now you're running scared. We laugh from afar, sacred defense. Uranium safe. Stop running away, keep your boots on the ground. Yeah.
Oh man, I swear they come out one every day at this point.
Yes, he's doing stuff with the negotiations. I mean, I don't think when you're banking on the entire population to rise up to get rid of the Islamists is the way to say you're going to wipe out an entire civilization. But different words. Yes, he always goes a little bit further, saying, okay, we're going to take Greenland. We're going to take Greenland. It's okay. Maybe we'll have a few bases in Greenland. He's going to take the long shot, but then back off. I just saying you're going to wipe out a civilization. Bad choice of words, I think. But
I was really struck. For example, the biggest mission in modern American history post Second World War is the mission that you were on to kill Osama bin Laden. In terms of the importance, I think, to Americans and to the country and to the people to finally see him get justice for what he did on 9/11. You know, it was an incredible mission. But what was the theme of that mission? Utter secrecy. Absolutely everybody involved, tiny number of people at the White House knew about it. Very small number of people in the military knew about it, even though all you top level guys were all being brought together. Highly unusual for that to happen. But there was a wall of secrecy because people understood that careless words cost lives, a famous World War II thing. Here with Trump, we have the complete opposite. He just spews out all this stuff like a machine gun, a verbal machine gun all day long. And I don't understand how any of that helps. I don't think it's duping the enemy. I don't think the Iranians take any of it that seriously. I just don't understand why he feels the need to do this.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's giving away any secrets. Everything is extremely close held. It's hard for me to find out any information about who's involved in anything, and that's talking with sources in Washington D.C. in Congress. They're keeping it very compartmentalized. And the Bin Laden raid's one thing. We can't tell anybody because if we even tell the host nation, because Pakistan was involved with that, they're going to run him to safety. Stuff like this, we knew they were shot down. Now we didn't know there were 2 pilots there until someone in the Pentagon leaked it. Someone close by. So they're not giving away stuff they're doing right now. I mean, even with Carg Island, who's to say if we're going to take it completely? Which I mean, who knows now? We could. The United States could. We could take all the oil and keep it. So I don't think he's giving away secrets. I mean,
yeah, we could, but at what cost, G? How many lives? How many American lives are you willing to sacrifice for that mission? Like, and are you willing to go out there and sacrifice your home? Like, I just want to know, because I trust me, I get it. We can take, we can put boots on the ground and take Iran, but at what cost? And is that cost palatable to the American people? No, it won't be. It won't. That's why we're hesitant to do it, or that's why Trump is hesitant to do it. And trust me, if he was all for it, he'd have been did it.
I mean, appropriately having fun with it, inappropriately having fun with it, I guess is what I'd say.
Glenn Greenwald, I mean, it seems to me that if you look at what Putin has done in Ukraine, if you look at what China is believed to want to do in Taiwan, for example, the moral authority that...
Make sure to like the video, guys, and smash that like button. Appreciate the support. Oh, I'm just pretty much saying this for the record, because I'm gonna have to post this entire live on YouTube.
Cenk Uygur talked about is incredibly important here. If America cedes any moral high ground whatsoever by openly threatening genocide as Trump has done today, whether he meant it or not, the fact he's gone on record as saying it, how can America, when another nation commits an act which they view as morally reprehensible, how can they play the moral card with it going forward?
Well, we can, and it wasn't just before this, just today. It was long before this. There have been American hawks who have gone to Europe and warned people in Europe that the reason China is rising so greatly and in displacing Americans in all the regions where we used to be dominant, like Africa and Latin America, is because the world perceives that the Americans and the United States government is a bully and just uses military force and war and weapons anytime it feels like. Whereas China was able to rise to a world power, even though they haven't fought a war in 48 years. The last war they fought was 1979. That was a 1-month border dispute with Vietnam, and yet we're fighting wars constantly, and now with the American president threatening civilizational annihilation. And I don't think we need to sit here and dissect the true social pose as though it's like some hieroglyphic from ancient civilization and we have to decipher what it really means. Trump has repeatedly made statements like this. As you said, on Easter, he vowed to destroy every power plant in Iran and every bridge in Iran. That wouldn't just affect the regime, that would destroy the lives of millions of people who are in Iran, people that were supposedly there to represent. And I just want to add one last point, which
I know, and just like us, they got to use that bridge for commerce. They know they got stuff they got to transport on bridges. They got places they got to drive in and out of Tehran. So yeah, that bridge that we blew up mainly used by civilians. So basically a war crime, just like the bridge that Israel blew up in southern Lebanon, because, well, civilians use that to get over that river in Lebanon over into southern Lebanon. And you pretty much just blocked off access to southern Lebanon through bombing that bridge that mainly civilians use. And also Hezbollah. Why? Because they need to get over to southern Lebanon, and that's the only bridge over there. So blowing up that bridge, that's a war crime. It doesn't constitute as a military target.
It's so bizarre to have to sit here and listen to people like Katie McFarlane say, oh, we have to go to war to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, when these were the same exact people who said the same exact thing about Saddam Hussein, that we had to go to war because Saddam Hussein was going to get a nuclear weapon and pass it to Al-Qaeda and they were going to detonate it, all of which turned out to be lies. And they just come back like none of it ever happened. And even this rescue mission, like I'm glad the pilot was rescued, but I do think we have to be a little bit aware as well that there's a lot of propaganda disseminated in war. We were told at the very start of the war, you may remember this, that there was this soldier named Jessica Lynch who heroically fought off Iraqi fighters and gunned a bunch of them down and was finally taken and tortured in a hospital, and U.S. forces rescued her in a daring raid, none of which turned out to be true. The media told this story over and over. So a lot of this is propaganda. A lot of this are things that we've seen before. And we do have a major problem even before Trump started with these insane threats, not just in this Truth Social post. And we didn't just threaten it. We have blown up their bridges, which obviously affects the population. We've blown up their refineries that poisons their air and water. These are things we're actually doing. And the U.S. was already in a hole morally and geostrategically, which is why China is rising, because countries would rather deal with them. And this makes it infinitely worse, even if Trump doesn't follow through on these monstrous threats.
Yeah, I mean, Casey McFarland, I remember the Donald Trump campaigning to be elected in 2024, who couldn't have been clearer. He was going to stop taking America into these Middle Eastern wars. He thought they were ruinous for the economy. They were ruinous on life. He just didn't understand them. He kept telling us how he thought Iraq had been a terrible mistake, and he wanted to stop all this. This was America First, meant looking after American interests in America. And my God, there are lots of stuff that he could be doing to improve the lives of Americans right now. And he made a good start. He shut the.
I'm telling you, he had a pretty good start, and then he just destroys it all. Well, I'm not gonna say completely destroy it, but basically walks backwards on all of his progress that he made on the economy. Affordability, and all he had to do was just focus on affordability, stay out of war with Iran, and he'd have been good. I mean, at least his first year, at least fix the economy, at least fix affordability, at least bring more jobs back to the United States before you go over there and hop in a war with Iran, asking for $200 billion out from the American people. Well, not really, that you're going to reallocate out of other services that the American people rely on. This is insane.
Southern border, I thought that was an excellent thing to do after what happened under Biden for 4 years. But ever since now, it seems like he's been on a mission to contradict his own campaigning. And what could be a bigger contradiction of I'm not going to drag America into these pointless Middle Eastern wars than dragging America into the biggest and most potentially dangerous and ruinous Middle Eastern war imaginable. And now he's talking about wiping out whole civilizations. How does that sit with Donald Trump, the campaigner? Vote for me and I won't do this.
I guess I would take great issue with what Glenn has just said about people like Donald Trump not supporting the Iraq war. I ran for the U.S. Senate in 2006 because I didn't think the Bush administration was doing the right thing with the Iraq war. President Trump is not against war. He's not afraid of war. He's not afraid of using military force. What he doesn't want is a forever war that goes on for decades that the United States can't win, that costs us in blood and treasure. And if you listen to what he said in the last 48 hours even, he said, we're not going to make Bush's mistakes. We are not going to go into Iran. We're not going to fire all the military. We're not going to get rid of everybody in the government. We don't want to occupy it. We don't want to run the place. We want a Venezuela model where we can go and maybe decapitate the senior leadership and then get whoever is left in the leadership to do a deal with us. We'll develop their oil. They'll get rid of their nuclear weapons.
Yeah, but the only reason we got that out of Venezuela because Delcy Rodriguez pretty much cut a deal with us on the back end. That's the only reason. She was ready to betray Maduro and, come to power and just work with the U.S. through oil. Like, the regime is still in power. They still got theirs. Honestly, authoritarian ways there. They're still socialists. The money's most likely all going to the government still, and the people of Venezuela's lives are not getting any better. We just got a better deal when it comes to their oil. So, yeah.
Open the Strait of Hormuz. So I think you're all basically taking the bait. Donald Trump negotiates from strength. So what he does is he goes in and the first position out of his mouth is the extreme position. And then he negotiates backwards. And then in the end of the day, he gets the result he wants.
Well, let me put a different argument to you, which is that I think, and I've known him a long time, Donald Trump. I like him personally. We've been friends for 2 decades. But knowing him as well as I do, and you know him well too, I think he has massively miscalculated with this war in Iran, which no one wants to call a war, because if it was called a war, you'd have to go through Congress. And no American president likes to do that with war. But they should, actually, for another point. But, looking at Donald Trump's behavioral pattern in the last few weeks, I think that he thought this would be like Venezuela. They would go in. The Israelis said to them, we've got the Ayatollah, we've got all these top people in the same room, we can take them all out. And he thought, decapitate them, the people would rise up, that's what Netanyahu told him, and it would all be over very quickly. And the complete opposite has happened. And where the real miscalculation came was in Iran's ability to withstand enormous military superiority against them, but to then exercise a sort of parallel universe war, an asymmetric of an economic kind with the Straits of Hormuz, effectively shutting that down, causing enormous damage to the global economy, which we felt now for many months, whatever happens, and then attacking the Gulf states in a way that has paralyzed their business model. So attacking oil refineries in the Gulf states, its neighbors, attacking tourist centers and so on. This has been a disaster for them. And so you add it all up, and I think, where's the win here? The regime is still in place. They've got way more IRGC people that can come through the ranks and fill the gaps. So that hasn't changed. The people are not uprising for a number of reasons. Probably fear of
uprising. They're over here like forming a human circle around these energy plants and these bridges. So it's not really an uprising. It's a standing in solidarity with the regime. Sadly, that's what we're seeing on the ground.
Bombs.
The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Strait of Hormuz is closed.
And the Strait of Hormuz, exactly. As Glenda said, the Straits of Hormuz remain pretty well closed to anyone that the Iranians don't want to leave them open to. I just am struggling to conclude.
Now they're saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna remain control of the Strait of Hormuz, and we're also gonna start charging people $2 million fees. I mean, that's gonna get passed down to us in some way, shape, or form. But at least we get our oil. And Iran gets there. Oh man, that's what I'm saying. It's just not going to look like a good deal. Trust me, the neocons are going to lose their shit. They're going to sit there and be like, Trump is giving Iran money through these entry fees. And I'm just like, yeah, but guess what? If he never got into the war, Iran wouldn't be getting these entry fees.
Anything other than Trump has miscalculated, really. Probably because he's been misled by the Israelis that this would be indeed like it was in the 12-day war last summer and like it was in Venezuela, a quick, sharp shock and get out. And now I don't think he knows how to get out. And the Iranians know they can hold the Straits of Hormuz as this bargaining tool, which is almost impossible to take away from them.
So what you're saying is that because Iran is using this bargaining tool, which is using this blackmail tool, the economic tool, that they would that we're supposed to let them do that and then potentially have nuclear weapons and let them blackmail the world again?
No, I don't believe there was. I know.
Look, I hear you. No, we don't want that. But what are you willing to do to stop it? That's the problem. What are we willing to do to stop them from holding the Strait of Hormuz hostage? Like, well, here's the thing. Not much, because Trump is pretty much willing to hear out this 10-point plan. And they're not going to open. They're not opening the Strait of Hormuz. They're still charging the passage fee. So, what are we really getting out of this? And like I said, it depends. How far do you want to go with this, lady? I mean, because the only way to get to open the Strait of Hormuz would be to take on Cargill and take over the ports as well. Really, probably just put boots on the ground and disable all of their missile launch pads, the one above and underground. So if you're not willing to do all that, then we kind of got to work with these guys on some type of arrangement now that we put ourselves in this situation.
I don't believe there was an impending threat of nuclear weapons in Iran. I think that was a totally misleading reading of their situation.
And bro, it went from they can't have a nuclear bomb to they can't enrich. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people kind of get like tricked up right there. Because like, bro, it was about them not having a bomb. Now y'all saying that they can't even enrich uranium, and they're going to fight you on that because they do have the right to enrich uranium. Now, the problem is, though, that we believe that they may start enriching uranium to that 90% to get a bomb. But the problem is, though, in 2015, we was able to get that under the JCPOA, and that took care of that problem until 2018. Donald Trump ripped up that deal, placed the IRGC as a terrorist group, killed Qasem Soleimani. Oh yeah, and he put back on the sanctions, which was the whole reason why Iran even got into the deal. So Iran had no reason to abide by the JCPOA no more. Acts of aggression was taken upon them. And by 2021, they're at 60% enrichment. We're all just like, oh shit. Yeah, we're having that oh no shit moment. All because, well, I'll be real with you. When Donald Trump ripped up that JCPOA deal, that led us on this path right here. Because if he didn't rip up that deal, we'd have all the intelligence under nuclear capability and everything. And let's be real, if they was doing anything to push towards that 60%, we'd have known it have violated it, and we'd have been able to take these actions, rightfully so. But like I said, that's if, you know, only if Trump would have just stuck in the deal.
Flies completely in the face of what we were told happened after the 12-day war.
I already know what you're going to say. So you just want to give millions to them? Billions? Well, that's what relieving the sanctions does. Obama didn't just give these guys money out of American people's pockets or the taxpayers' pockets. He gave them money from the released sanctions that froze up their assets. And now they're just getting that back for us to be able to observe their nuclear capability. So I'm just like, it's a good deal in my eyes. I'm like, all right, I'll give you your money back that we really don't need. It's your money, and you let us look over your nuclear capabilities. Nothing wrong with that.
So I think that this was a genuine desire by the Israelis to have a regime change in Iran, and they persuaded Donald Trump to join in. That's why Antony Blinken said they tried to get Biden to do it. They tried to get Obama to do it. They both said no, and Israel did not attack. This time they got third time lucky. As Marco Rubio said, the Americans got involved because they were told another country was going in, and they knew that there would be retaliation, so we better get in first. It came out of the Secretary of State's mouth.
Yeah, I mean, Obama called their bluff. Oh, they came to Obama and said, look, bro, it's like, look, you need to help us to fight Iran. We're about to go bomb Iran. Like, you got to follow us up on that. He said, no, I'm not actually, but good luck. Oh, we'll nuke them. Okay, go ahead, do it. See what happens. Like, good luck with those consequences. That's all really Trump had to do was like, oh, well, like, you know, if we attack them, they'll attack you too, guys, right? I mean, shoot, I'll just call them and tell them, look, if they attack us, it's on, but you guys are going to attack them by yourselves. We're not going to back you up on it. Oh, we'll use a nuke. I mean, go ahead. I mean, good luck with that. It's not going to really work out well for you if you don't destroy them all, but good luck.
So the beauty of this whole war, if there can be such a thing, is the clarity coming out of people's mouths. They will be judged accordingly. Let me bring Cenk back in here. You know, I keep going back to that Rubio moment because to me, that is at the core of this war. I think Trump got bamboozled into doing this by Netanyahu, who made 8 visits to America in the build-up to this. And we saw J.D. Vance say similar things only last week.
Yeah. So there's 3 different factors with Trump and the Israelis. Number one, the Adelson family alone has given Trump over $300 million in campaign contributions. So anyone saying that Trump is not affected by $300 million lives on a different planet. So they literally bribed him. That's legally possible in America. Miriam Adelson is an Israeli. She's the one who flew out Jonathan Pollard in her private jet to congratulate him back to Israel, gave him a hero's welcome. So these people are not for our country. They're the opposite, right? On top of that, let's be honest, there might be blackmail. But let's go past that. And they did. And Netanyahu came and talked to him 8 different times and whispered sweet nothings into his ear. And he said, oh, you're going to be a hero. You're going to conquer the whole world, Donald. And you know what? We're going to do it anyway. You'll be a spectator to history. That's a direct quote that they used. So you better not be weak. And the thing is, guys, you know, Piers, the one thing I can't agree with you on is Trump is a baboon. I mean, he's so stupid. It's like talking to a child. Bro. I mean, if you told me, oh, you're going to be a spectator to history, you better attack Iran before we do, I'd be like, shut up and get out of the American White House. And but Trump's like, oh, okay, Daddy, am I going to be big and powerful? So I can't stand the guy, and I can't stand
I don't think calling him
a rational person.
Look, honestly, when you call Trump a baboon, you're kind of falling into his rhetorical trap of you know, getting in the gutter with him. And I don't think
What is this, Piers? Well, I mean, can you agree that he's a stupid man-child? Can you at least agree on that?
No, I don't think he's a stupid
I mean,
man.
what is this screaming into the abyss? I'm going to kill them all. I'm the new Hitler.
I'm weak. You know what's crazy? Me and Sid Loki had an exchange like this exactly. It's like, yo, I know there's people like Sid and Shank that want to throw Donald Trump completely out the window. F it. There's no way we're getting out of this. He's a complete idiot. And then there's some of us that's reasonable. That's just like, you know what? Look, he made a mistake. He can still correct course. He may not see that he make a mistake, but maybe if he sees it, maybe if we yell at him enough, like you are, he might correct course. Maybe. Hopefully. Okay, fuck it. Praying, God willing, inshallah, as they say in Islam or over there in the Middle East.
He's basically saying he's the new Hitler. What is that? I mean, he's either a monster or a monster and a man-child.
I find these posts reprehensible. But Donald Trump is not a stupid man. I can assure you of that. He's won the White House twice.
Are you crazy?
Well,
he's
managed to win the White House.
Had in office.
Well, he's won the White House twice. He's not stupid.
Yeah, that's why I can't stand the corporate Democrats.
He's not stupid.
I mean, to be fair, you're right. I mean, the only people dumber than Donald Trump are the Democratic leadership that keep losing to him.
Okay.
Oh, let's run as elitists. Let's run as pro-corporate and let's embrace Dick Cheney.
All right.
Jesus.
But I don't think he's stupid, but I do think his foreign policy generally actually has been one of his stronger points until this. This makes no sense to me. No, it hasn't made sense from day one.
No strong points. His foreign policy has been a disaster. So let's get back to the main issue here. So he said he was against the wars. You're absolutely right about that, especially against Middle Eastern wars. And he said he was worried that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were going to take us into World War III. Okay. And now what do we have? Ben-Gvir threatening nukes. And by the way, if you haven't heard, China and Pakistan have said that if Israel nukes Iran, they will nuke Israel. So here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi? I can't stand this guy. And doing the exact opposite of what he promised.
Okay.
The exact opposite. And one more thing a point that Glenn made that is really important. So Russia goes and destroys their army and their treasure in Ukraine. Now we're going to destroy our treasure. We spent $300 million on the rescue alone. It was a brilliant operation, but $300 million. We're spending $1 to $2 billion a day. So both Russia and the U.S. are destroying themselves in these totally needless wars, and China is laughing their ass off. How did they get this lucky that we're wasting our treasure and our military on wars for other countries? It's insanity. Let's go compete with China and India economically. Stop this military madness. Get someone who's an American and who's a decent person back in charge of America.
Okay. Let me bring Ryan back in here. I found a quote from retired Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Van Lindingham, who said on PBS, threatening to bomb every bridge and power plant in Iran in itself is a war crime, not just reckless talk, a crime. Why? Because terrorizing a civilian population through rhetoric violates the law of war, and the law of war is U.S. law. So that seems pretty clear there, that actually this kind of rhetoric can have very serious real-world consequences for Donald Trump.
Yeah, so a lot of this is a bargaining position. It's a lot of leverage that Trump is getting. And when it comes to actually targeting these structures, like a flu combat in Afghanistan, and there's a rule of engagement that you go through for every release, and you do everything you can to mitigate damage to civilians in the area. But if you look at some of these plants that have been struck so far, like PARS Energy Plant, Sharif University, PARS is basically powering the ballistic missile program for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So that makes it a legitimate target. Sharif University is a nerve center, a data center, where the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has built and designed their missiles and their drones. And what I hear on the panel, too, is a lot of people being triggered by Trump. And I think that's what happens when someone with a backbone comes in and says, no, you know what, we're going to stand up to evil. And if you don't stand up to that evil, you're kind of like that person.
What if, as Tucker Carlson said, what if in standing up to evil, you start to sound evil yourself? I mean,
maybe you do.
Nah, but here's the thing, though. Whoever said that comment on, like, yo, sitting there saying that you're going to blow up every bridge in Iran. I mean, bro, Bridge Day and Power Plant Day, AKA you're going for everything. Yeah, that's a war crime. And he said it out loud. And the fact that anybody was really trying to sit there and argue the point that those are not war crimes. I mean, maybe you need to go read what a war crime is, or to go read through the Geneva Convention, because you forgot. Yeah, I obviously forgot. You're missing parts of history, guys. So let's go ahead and refresh on that. You're going to refresh on that. I'll probably do it on another stream.
You have to fight fire with fire. I mean, you're going up
but
against
that's the
a terrorist
problem, isn't it?
regime.
I've got a real problem with that. You know, I've always, I've said this many times. I don't want to bore people, but I come from a lot of military in my family, right? And they're horrified about this because there's supposed to be a moral code. I'm sure you abided by it when you served.
Absolutely.
I know for a fact Rob did, right? He's been on some of the biggest missions in American modern military history, and there's a strict moral code that abides along the way with these guys, right? It's what makes the American military one of the finest in history. It's what makes the British military fine. The moment you lose that, the moment you abandon all pretense at morality or being a superior moral force, and you just decide to fight evil with evil, and you fight people threatening to annihilate you by annihilating the entire country, you lose me.
I think he's threatening to annihilate the IRGC and the regime. I don't think he's threatening to annihilate the entire country. I think that's pretty clear from what we can see.
You're being very forgiving, but maybe you should be his digital producer, because that's not what he posted.
Well, I'll be the person that reads the second part of his Truth Social post. I mean, it's pretty clear right there that he's just talking about the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. 47 years ago, the Islamic Revolution happened and brought in a terrorist regime run by radical Islamic clerics who want a nuclear weapon. So my question to the panel is, it'd be nice if we don't have to do anything. I would prefer that we're not in war. It would be great, Sink, if we could not have to deal with this situation and we could just all go on with our lives, run our businesses, make money. That'd be great. But to me, you're coming across as someone who's putting a blindfold on.
You know what? F it. No, we're just going to get into a quick video on war crimes, because it's kind of crazy how people don't understand it. But I'll let him finish his spiel real quick.
Walking towards a cliff, and you're perfectly fine with that threat. And someone's like, hey, there's a cliff up there.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's what you sound like to me.
It's nice out today, so we're just going to keep walking towards the cliff. And that cliff is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world.
What happens,
so not only nuclear
Ryan,
weapons,
what
nuclear
happens?
weapons off the table.
Okay, but Ryan,
totally
what happens, Ryan? Look, there are many people that share your view that the Iranians had to be dealt with, and that Trump's a trash talker, and he's just the IRGC and he's negotiating and so on. But let me ask you, Ryan, a specific question. What happens if the Iranians call it? What happens if the Iranians call his bluff? If 8 p.m. comes and goes tonight, Trump does not wipe out the whole country, and is then looking, as I said earlier, like the emperor with no clothes, the guy that threatened to do all this stuff, and then they called his bluff and he didn't do it. That's the problem. You can exaggerate when you're selling a building in New York City. You can pile them high. Right, you can exaggerate a lot of things when you're president, actually. You can trash talk your rivals, or you can trash talk Hollywood people when they die, whatever. That has no real world level of consequence, other than people might find it disagreeable. But when you do this and you don't act on it, he is relying on the Iranian regime caving. I don't think that ideologically they will do that. Because they are basically nihilists. They've already said publicly in the last few hours, we don't care if we die. We'll die.
Bro, they don't care. They're forming human circles around power plants. It's like they don't care. They said, all right, cool, bomb the power plants. You're going to take us out with the power plants? I mean, maybe we might. But here's the thing. They're showing their resilience that, we don't care what you threaten. There is no bending the knee, and we're willing to go out with it. I'm like, so we're depending on these people to give up? I don't know about that one. I wish, I hope, but no, it's looking very unlikely.
If we have to, and I'm sure they mean it.
Of course.
So what happens if his bluff gets called?
Well, I think it's a fair point. I mean, some of the choice words, the words probably could have been stated differently. I think you bring up a fair point there. However, in warfare, there's also deception. So if you're deceiving the enemy, you're doing warfare correct. And so if 8 p.m. comes tonight and the bombs don't drop on specific facilities, then it'll drop somewhere else, and Trump will pivot somewhere else and use our military in a moral way to start to systematically destroy the IRGC's ability to fund themselves. And we saw Karj Island get hit this morning, late last night, and so they took out military infrastructure there while not targeting the oil infrastructure. So there's a strategic 4D chess plan. So again, pivoting and adapting can happen even when this claim has been made by the president.
Well, the thing is, we're going to find out. I mean, somebody said to me last night, I first got to know Trump when I appeared on his Celebrity Apprentice show. And if someone said
Can I
to me
just
last
add
night,
one thing, Piers?
yeah.
So I think there's a narrative out there that everybody's blaming Israel for everything, and it comes across as a mainstream corporate news talking point to me. But if you look back at the 80s, President Trump has an interview where he's...
Bro, hold on, bro. I mean, let's be real. CNN ain't really touching on it. Fox News ain't really touching on it. It's mainly independent media who's touching on it, who's touching on this whole fact that Israel dragged us into it. I mean, bro, Fox News just took the bait and said, oh, well, I guess it's not Israel. And I mean, well, Fox News never claimed it was Israel, but I'm talking about CNN. They're the one who just took it and was just like, oh, no, well, I guess it's not Israel. I guess there might be an actual threat that we don't know of that they've been pretty critical about. I'll give it to them. They've been like, we don't know about this imminent threat that you're talking about, but okay. But let's be real, though. They don't really bring up the fact that Israel dragged us into this war at all anymore.
Says Iran needs to be bombed. They need to be taken out. They're a dangerous regime.
There's no question.
So,
There's no question he has said that before, but there's also no question because Marco Rubio spelled it out for us on camera that the incentive for America to get involved this time was because the Israelis said we're going to attack. And,
I mean, obviously, Israel has an incentive for us to do this. That's obvious. That's clear. They benefit from this. However, America benefits a lot as well.
But the problem, my problem,
sponsor of terror.
No, we don't.
The point
That's
I was going to
absurd.
make. The point I was going to make was, having appeared on The Apprentice, someone said to me last night, "This is like watching The Apprentice." This is my problem with the way Trump is conducting this war. War is not a game. It's not a reality show. And when people are waking up for the new installment from Donald Trump about the Iran war, and almost when you add all the memes that the White House has been putting out and the Hollywood-style video stuff and so on, none of it sits easily with me because there is nothing worse in the world than war. But as you know,
Piers, I agree.
And as Rob knows better than anybody, wars are about as real as life and death get, right? And the idea that the whole thing is treated like a kind of reality show sits really
Even
badly
at prime
with
time,
me.
8 o'clock p.m. Eastern prime
that's
time
my
is
point.
when he set the time for it.
That's my point. It's like it's all what you would do if you're promoting a reality TV show. Because that's Trump's background, it sits even more uneasily. And I wish he wouldn't do it like this. I think there are different ways to do it.
All right, though, let's get into this quick little video, and then we're gonna get out of here. You go live until tomorrow, guys. Well, on YouTube. All right, let's get into it. Let's see what you need to know about war crimes, collective punishment. What else it says?
Right now, a lot of people are talking about war crimes. But what actually is a war crime? How difficult is it to punish a war criminal? And are war crimes ever justified? That last question is something that a lot of people are arguing at the moment, but it's also the easiest one to answer, so let's get it out of the way quickly.
War crimes are never justifiable, and answering war crimes with more war crimes is completely unacceptable.
It doesn't matter who started the war. It doesn't matter who was right.
Yeah, so just saying, well, Iran, they committed a war crime with the Strait of Hormuz, so we could commit war crimes against them. Yeah, no. Like, I mean, if you're a real American, then you understand that we hold ourselves to a higher standard than our enemies or than to those that we see below us. So why the hell we stoop to their level? Like, why would we ever think that that's a good idea?
Are wrong in starting the war. It doesn't matter that one party may have done something horrible and the other party thinks that they're justified. There is no justification.
Okay, so with that sorted, let's break the rest of this down into 4 different parts. Who decides what a war crime is? What are the different types of war crimes? How is evidence collected? And how are war criminals brought to justice? The concept of the rules of war goes back a long time, but only recently did most of the world agree on how wars should be conducted. This is known as international humanitarian law, and it's made up of a patchwork of different treaties and conventions, like the Geneva Conventions, which were created after World War II. Because international humanitarian law is pulling from a number of different sources, not all countries agree on every single law within it. They may recognize one convention, but not another. And this is where things start to get a little bit complicated. But pretty much every country recognizes the...
They be picking and choosing like, I'll abide by the first or second convention, but that third one, I don't know about that one. I might need to commit that war crime one day. Like, whoa, okay.
Core idea that it's not about stopping the killing of enemy fighters. It's about trying to minimize suffering and protect people that aren't involved in the fighting, like civilians or soldiers that have surrendered. So, what are the different types of war crimes? When answering this question, human rights groups often point to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, which breaks things down into 3 different categories. You've got war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. There's a bit of overlap between the 3 things, but they're largely considered to be separate. When it comes to war crimes, and this may seem obvious,
all right, so war crimes include torture, mutilation, corporal punishment, hostage taking, acts of terrorism. This category also covers violation of human dignity, such as rape, enforced prostitution, looting, execution without trial. War crimes, unlike crimes against humanity, are always committed in times of war. So, yeah. You know, the great thing is, though,
when you break the...
Yes, Iran has committed war crimes. Hamas has committed war crimes. Hezbollah, everybody falls within this. But we do not lower ourselves to terrorist groups, or we become them ourselves. And if you hate when Dave Smith say that, oh, we're the largest terrorist group or the largest state sponsor of terrorists, then yeah, you're not going to, then this is your moment to sit there and prove them wrong and not condone this shit. Because yeah, it'll be a violation against their human dignity to pretty much take out their, I'm gonna be real with you, take out their electricity and their water. And it's what something you'd also call collective punishment. But all right.
Rules of war during an armed conflict. And there are a lot of different crimes that fall under this category, like killing civilians, torture, and taking hostages. But it can also cover things like denying medical care, or attacking historical monuments, or forcing people to leave their homes.
Damn.
And
you know what's so crazy about this? So, attacking civilians. I mean, in this war right now, both Israel, United States, and Iran have both committed this action. Torture. Nobody's tortured anybody, thank God. Thank God. Taking hostages. I mean, bro, we was about to be in a hostage situation, but luckily nobody's done that. So we're good on that.
Attacking historical monuments.
But hold on here.
Or forcing people.
But yeah, cruel treatment. Yeah, Israel, they kind of got caught up for that with their prisoners of war. Attacking protected objects. Yeah, Israel definitely did destroy a couple churches in Gaza. So I mean, yeah, they did that. Oh, and displacing citizens. Oh, they did that all throughout Gaza, and they displaced about 1 million people in Lebanon. Like today, this is happening today. War crime today that nobody ever want to bring up. The displacing of the Lebanese people by about 1 million. But it's all good though, right? It's all good, you know, the Holy Land.
People to leave their homes. And it's not just what you do during a conflict, but also how you conduct yourself when you're actually fighting. That can mean using child soldiers or using civilians as human shields. For example, firing missiles from inside a crowded school because your enemy can't retaliate without putting civilians at risk. There's also something called collective punishment, which is punishing a group of people that may not be involved in the conflict, just because you suspect that some of the people living there might be enemy soldiers.
AKA, just because the IRGC uses that bridge, we're going to put collective punishment on the people and destroy that bridge. Just because the IRGC may get power out of that power plant, or most likely does, we're going to put the people in the collective punishment and make millions go in the blackout just to get at the IRGC. Yeah, that's collective punishment.
And then there's the use of certain weapons. They may be considered inhumane because they cause unnecessary suffering, or it could be because they're indiscriminate, so not targeted and likely to cause collateral damage and harm civilians. A lot of these crimes may seem pretty straightforward, but where things start to get a bit
more crimes that Iran committed so far, by the way,
murky is when proportionality comes into it.
In international humanitarian law, there is an acceptance that there will be some civilian losses, but its anticipated military advantage has to outweigh that.
Basically, if your military goal is considered important enough and you take steps to minimize collateral damage by giving warnings beforehand or using targeted attacks, civilians can die without it being considered a war crime. The next category covers crimes against humanity, which are a step up.
That's what Israel tries to do with dropping the leaflets, but the leaflets will tell you to go to a place that, you know, is going to be bombed, or they'll just tell you to leave and they never bomb the location at all. Yeah.
from war crimes, at least
Yeah, that's the tricky part about the whole warning with leaflets and all that good stuff, because people, they don't really know what's written on those leaflets. We just know that, oh, Israel dropped them. But according to the Palestinians, yeah, they were told to go to places that would be bombed eventually. Well, or when they were going to that place.
In terms of scale.
It has to be committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack, and it needs to be directed against any civilian populations.
A war crime can be the death of just one person, whereas crimes against humanity are often organised campaigns with the aim of killing or torturing or displacing a large group of civilians over a period of time. Another big difference is that crimes against humanity don't need to take place during a conflict. Think apartheid in South Africa, or the way that Joseph Stalin used to make his political opponents disappear in the Soviet Union. The final category is genocide. What separates genocide from crimes against humanity is that the end goal needs to be the complete destruction of an entire group of people. For example, during the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were killed, the goal of the Nazis was to exterminate the Jewish people completely. Genocide also doesn't technically have to involve killing. It could take the form of trying to starve a group of people or taking away their children. Now, when it comes to proving war crimes, human rights groups play a big role in the collection of evidence.
We spend thousands of hours researching, monitoring, and documenting human rights abuses in an effort to put perpetrators to justice.
That can involve interviewing witnesses and survivors, working with local organisations and journalists, and going through huge amounts of photos and videos to try to reconstruct events.
When you're building a case, you're not relying on one piece of evidence, you're relying on a patchwork of information that can piece it together and also be corroborated.
There are plenty of challenges that come with collecting evidence, like needing to work in active war zones, going through huge amounts of data, and then having to verify everything.
Sometimes there's just too much, there's so much coming out.
So, once all of the evidence is collected, what happens next? Human rights groups create detailed reports and pass them on to international bodies or governments that might follow it up with another investigation. Or they might be passed on to groups that will then use that evidence to build a legal case. Some human rights groups, like Fortify Rights, even go as far as pursuing legal cases themselves. Actually prosecuting war criminals in court, however, is challenging for a number of reasons. Proving that a war crime has simply taken place,
trust me, when we see that with Bibi Netanyahu,
can be straightforward. But actually linking it to an individual, especially if there's someone high-ranking that wasn't directly involved on the ground, can be very tough. And it's those high-ranking officials that are often the ones that end up in court because of how expensive and time-consuming these types of cases are. It can also be quite difficult to prove the more extreme acts because you also need to prove intent. And even before you get to any of these issues, there's the problem of actually finding a court that will take your case. It's often not possible to go to court in the country where the crime was committed because the country may still be at war, or it may be the government that has committed the crime.
You know, often you find that they obviously won't investigate themselves.
AKA, yeah, we ain't gonna investigate ourselves. And AKA, we ain't gonna let another country investigate us. I mean, a little bit shaky.
There are international tribunals and courts like the International Criminal Court, but its powers are limited because not every country recognizes its authority. For example, Russian President Vladimir Putin has an arrest warrant out for war crimes with the ICC. But as long as he avoids countries that recognize the ICC, he likely won't have to face trial. Another option are the domestic courts of countries that have universal jurisdiction. An example of this happened in France in 2014, when it convicted Pascal Simbakangwa for his role in the Rwandan genocide. The bottom line is that actual war crime convictions aren't all that common. But that doesn't mean that the work of human rights groups goes to waste. The detailed reports and evidence that human rights groups put together can lead to international pressure and travel bans on war criminals. Early reporting on war crimes can also sometimes help to stop conflicts from escalating. And it can lead to support and assistance for victims of war.
All right, I think y'all get the point. I think we pretty much get how each country low-key committed war crimes. I think I've been pretty fair in my assessment or the analysis. But all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and time out on this one. We'll be back on YouTube tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and post this full live on YouTube. So just look out for it. Meantime, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Peace. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a